you got to stand with all your might. In the shout, reignite, truth to the battle, try to ignite, rebels rise, hear the sound, metal echoes all around.
What is up, everyone?
Yes.
Welcome to not an unfamiliar day and time for you guys, but kind of our normal time from here on out because of Chris's work schedule. So,
Good old General Motors put me on third shift. So,
so when he goes back to first shift, we'll go back to Friday. So,
I mean, of course, the funny thing is, I have such low seniority. It may
be a while.
May be a while before I end up on a regular shift anyway. So, if anything, I'll end up on second shift with Angela and Kayla, and we'll still probably have to do this thing on Saturdays. But it's weird because like you say, it's our old time, but it's our new time, and it's the time when we would do a lot of interviews anyway, because a lot of our guests have been overseas, so we have to accommodate for some time differences. So it was a whole weird thing how we kind of came all the way back around to like, well, I guess we just got to switch back to 10 o'clock on Saturdays, which is where this whole thing kicked off. So,
yeah, good deal.
It is what it is. So
hopefully everybody that's joining us is aware from the social media post earlier in the week. It kind of put together kind of quickly here.
It developed fast. Yes,
our good friend Curtis over at one of our labels that has pushed a new one on us, and I actually commented because this band's been one of the bands we've followed for a couple of years now. I think Chris, you may have did their last album review, I believe.
I'll have to look back and see if it was me or you. It may have been.
But I listened to it, and of course we've got turned on to the band, so we've been listening to like all their stuff now. So we'll get to talking more about that in a minute. But
and we got a 3-month jump start on the new album, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It actually comes out the day before my birthday, which is awesome too. That's a good birthday present. So
thanks to our buddy Curtis, man. He's been killing it
with stuff. Yeah, man.
He has been killing.
Yeah.
Yep. And just in case you guys didn't know, that voice you just heard in the background is Richie Cavalera of Incite, and he joins us on the Metalheads Unite podcast right now.
What's up, dudes?
Yeah, what's going on?
What's happening? Richie C.
Drinking coffee, talking metal in the morning. What can the best thing.
That's the best life, right?
So, it is.
So I guess if you didn't catch his last name, it should sound familiar to you. Richie Cavalera, of course, Max and Eagle, if you're familiar with Sepultura, or the 20 other projects that Max is. That's one thing I'm going to ask you. Does Max sleep at all? Or is he vampire? I mean, I'm trying to figure him out. It's like the guy does so much. It's like he makes me feel bad at my age. It's like this. I think he's older than me. It's like 10 times what I do. Like, Jesus
I think
Christ.
He's an android. I think he's an android.
I mean, if you put it in context, like he's doing a lot, but that's his sole work. He doesn't have a second job or kids to attend to. He can solely focus on that, and that's been a great thing for him. To create all these badass bands that we get to check out, and I'm just out here trying to continue that legacy and let him have a little bit of a break. So it's cool.
But that's another thing with Max though, is like every project he's in is like it's just so it's different. But it's still like so awesome, dude. Like I got like 4 records right now. I got a Sepultura record, of course, but I got the Go Ahead and Die. I got that. I got the Soulfly, and then I have the Cavalier Conspiracy stuff. So I'm just like,
oh yeah,
this dude's just like killing it everywhere he goes. So it's kind of it's almost like he could do a concert with all 4 bands and just lead all of it.
It's incredible, man. I struggle to find the power of doing one band. So I think of the concepts, lyrics, song, like it's amazing, man. What he does, it truly is. He's a musician, all through, man.
Yeah, through and through.
So I guess you were kind of doomed to be part of the scene, whether you probably wanted to or not. So it's kind of, you was probably just brought up all around it your whole life. So,
man, I loved it. Gloria, my mom, she back in like 1983 in Arizona, she started the first real metal bar, man, out there, and had bands like Poison and Flotsam and Jetsam is where they started, and Sacred Reich, and all these bands, man. And that, growing up around that, this is even pre-Max in our life. So Rob Halford was a everyday dude there, and it snowballed, man, having Danny Lilker at my house and Nuclear Assault there all the time, and Atrophy and all this stuff, man. It was like I fell in love. The Atrophy cover, Violent by Nature, that's kind of like my beginning in metal. I was like 4 years old, and that's me on the cover of the Sandbox with all the weapons and stuff, and that.
Oh no!
That just,
okay.
Nice. That's me, man. And
that's cool.
That's awesome.
Just, it catapulted, and then Max, and my mom coming together, Sepultura, and Sacred Reich, and all that stuff happened, and it was awesome. I started a band when I was like 4 years old called Wicked Death, with some kids in the neighborhood, and it was an incredible time, man. I'm very lucky, and I definitely didn't see myself going to be like a lawyer or a teacher or something like this. I'm on stage preaching, man, giving my sermons and shit. So that's what I love, and Metalheads and the whole thing, man. It's just a beautiful community to be a part of.
It is.
So yeah. I mean, I'm sure we would have asked where the whole inspiration came from, and like you said, it was your mom, and so, I mean, she been a metalhead her whole life. I mean,
man, people don't get it. She's literally one of the founders of what metal is today. The scene, going to all these countries, producing metal and giving every band a chance. And I think people they see Max all the time, but they don't see her, and she's really the reason that Sepultura and Sacred Reich, Atrophy, Max, Incite, all these things are created from her ideas and from her drive and her leadership of our family, and I can't think of a more awesome person, a woman, going through everything she has in this business that's ran by men, and she's been strong, and she's kicked ass, and she's done a lot of things that paved the way for so many bands to do what they do now, and mad respect to her forever.
Yeah, she's a heavy metal matriarch.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So true.
She's like, she's kind of had like the same influence that Marcia Z had with her and Johnny Z in California.
Yeah, man. She's big time, and she's always been really cool. She takes her time to give anybody, her vibe, and she's always cool and always there for people. And I'm very lucky to have that. And then have Max, who is also incredible in his ways, man. Super cool dude, good father, incredible musician, incredible to the fans and the metalheads and stuff. So great inspirations to be guided through in this crazy business, this crazy world, but showing you how to make the best out of it and how to really enjoy that life, man. And that's been an unbelievable learning experience for me.
It must have been, and it also must have been nice to have like that support. Like, even like you said, even before like Max had come along, to have that support system in place. Of course, having the experience and the connections and all that stuff, that does help too. But, a lot of, you hear a lot of stories about, these bands and these musicians, and they're like, oh, you hear oh man, my parents thought I was, worshiping Satan and all this other stuff and all this shit. And, my parents didn't really like it. But I mean, to have someone like that to cultivate it, and then have the support, and just to be able to bring you up in that environment, which she was already in, but to also bring you in and be like, all right, if you're going to do this, then do it all the way, and this is how you do it. And then now here you are, 7-8 albums in with your band here, And
yeah, it's been cool, man. It's been really cool. I'm very fortunate in the fact that I had that, but at the same time, me being who I am, I'm a grinder. I'm a work hard. I'm gonna never give up type of guy, and I love the fact that I had advice from them to take, but my own journey on this.
Right.
Getting my own shows, making these own tours on our way, buying our own vehicles, never getting, the handout, but just taking the advice and direction that they had or to witness it firsthand, and I think that's cool. And then, me taking the band and making it last 20 years, 7 albums, and really feeling like we're just now coming into what this band was meant to be. We have Lennon and Elle who've been here for a while now, and bringing in Lane, it completed us, man. And that all stems from, the knowledge that I've watched through my folks over the years. And, I think it's cool to have had that and, help me be more ready for things that came along in this ride, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up because, like you said, you feel like y'all are like, just now getting to where y'all are like blown up, kind of. And I've brought this up to Chris before. It seems like that's like a mark for a lot of bands. Like if you can get and work hard enough to get to that 20-year mark, it usually seems like right around that area is where most bands that we talk to seem to be like kind of like blossoming. You know what I mean? Like if you think about a flower, it's kind of like budding and they just kind of like boom and bust out right there.
Yeah. Because it's so damn hard to stay together that long, man. Like,
it is, yeah.
I look back, man. I think like me, Elle, and Lennon have all had life experiences that should have derailed us out of music, but it didn't for some reason. And for us to still be here and making the best music we've ever done, and having the best guitar player we've finally ever had, and like all these things, it's wild to think about, man. Like looking back at it, but I'm so thankful that it's here now. That ride feels like it was worth it right now, more than ever before. So it's exciting as hell.
So I was looking at that too, and I noticed that you're really the only main person left in Incite from the beginning. So is that kind of goes along with stuff not meeting your visions, or just kind of filtering?
I think people's expectations. I think a lot of these younger kids, they see bands and they think overnight that they got rich and got famous, or all these things just were given to them. But it's like, man, it's a grind. We started those early years as just a local band, then inevitably taking those steps to try to tour and get out there. And those were hard, man. We didn't sell no merch. Our van was a piece of shit. We had no crew guys. We've never had a crew guy ever. Like we've always been our own crew forever. So all those things that people don't expect to do, they had to do. And that was hard for a lot of those younger, earlier guys. And, finding dudes that are humble and finding dudes that work hard and actually love it. It took time, man. So finally in 2012, we were getting ready to do the Up in Hell record. And that's when, Lennon and Elle came, and, things just changed. It became that band that I've been set out to create, and that they have done that. They've stayed with me. We've, had some guitar player things trying to find that guy. And, that took time too. And they were patient to go through that ride to get here, man. And it's been worth it for sure. Cause fuck, what a journey.
It's kind of like in 2012, you heard those guys, you're like, all right, this is it. This is you kind of knew right at that moment that this is where I want to be. So,
man, I didn't have a choice. We had a tour scheduled, and we had a tour scheduled, and my bass player at the time hit me up, and he's like, "Yo, man, I'm quitting." Then the drummer, he didn't want to go through the shit of finding a new guy, so he's like, "I'm quitting." So then it was basically me and the new guitar player who hadn't been in the band that long, So I'm in the grocery store, and I call Lennon because I knew him from a tour we'd done with Prong a couple years before. Me and him smoked weed, so we hit it off. And I'm calling him. I'm like, dude, can you be in Phoenix in like 2 days, man? And he lives in Texas, And I'm like, I got a tour, man. Come play drums. And he shows up the next day, man, with his drum kit. His dad dropped him off, and I'm like, hey, man, I don't have a bass player, but I got a guitar player, bro. So let's get this going. And Elle, he had been in the Arizona scene for a long time, and he reached out to me, and I just grabbed him, and he had a band at the time, so I knew that he could leave. But if I just kept booking tours, he would be stuck to stay with me, man. So I forced him in, and the rest is, as they say, history. And now 12 years later, 4 albums, we're still killing it and having a great time and just loving what we do, man. That's for sure.
Well, that's like the big thing. It's like I think a lot of bands don't have that where it's I don't know. I feel like a lot of times it's more professional than it is enjoyable. I guess to a lot of bands, and I mean, I think it's kind of sad in a way. But then again, those are the most successful bands that we're probably listening to right now. But that's another thing. You brought up a subject that we always talk about. Is one of the reasons why we created the show for one of the reasons was to show people that hey. Everybody that does this aren't rich. I mean, most everybody we talk to has a 9 to 5. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
And they're still trying to get this thing to be their main thing. And fortunately for us, we watched some bands grow from being on our show. Not saying we had anything to do with it. I'm just saying they've been on the show and we watched them. Yeah, we watched them grow into being. Hey, this is our moneymaker now. They were able to quit their jobs and focus on strictly music. It's pretty awesome to see growth like that. That's one of the reasons we love doing this too, is to watch all these bands grow into something bigger. And at some point, and at some point we were like, "Hey man, you want to come on the show?" Well, it's like $2,000 now, dude. I can't do it. I'm just.
wait a minute. People charge y'all to get.
Oh no! I was just that's just a no. It was just a joke. It was just
it hasn't it hadn't come to that yet. Hell no.
Because of that, we probably won't be talking to people because we're not making money either. So it's kind of we're just at this point we're two fans and 2 guys that created a podcast and it kind of honestly this thing kind of blew up on us. We weren't expecting to be doing this and talking to people. We were talking to bands 2 years in, and I was just like, dude, this is unreal. Like I never thought we would be 2 years in. I figured it'd be like 5 years or something before we ever talked to our first band.
Yeah.
But it came so fast, and I think it was just because we were doing something different. You know what I mean? We weren't talking to or trying to reach out to Metallica and Megadeth. We're putting bands up in front of people's faces that they've never heard of. You know what I mean? That's kind of like what we wanted to do was say, hey, I mean, a lot of people may not have heard of Incite, and hopefully, if nobody has, we get more people on board. So
they'll know now.
Yeah, that's it. And if they haven't, then I mean, I don't know where they've been. Of course, we didn't know about you guys until the previous album before the new one coming out. So it's kind of a thing that we've missed out on too. So
hey, that's
all cool. I like the fact now people that are catching on, they have a lot of music from us to go back and check out and see how we've grown over the years and kind of finding our vibe now, man. And that's cool as shit though. What you guys do, that makes metal what it is. The community, the team, the word of mouth spreading like this, man. I'm all about that.
That's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that we've had different people on the show too, not just bands. We've had marketing people on the show. I mean, at some point, we're going to talk to one of the PR guys to try to get them on the show to kind of, I feel like it's kind of like everybody needs to know like, there's a part to play in this, I think
there's a lot of people.
And if you leave a piece out, then people don't understand. Like
it all falls apart. It's literally, it's just literally a house of cards. I mean, it's
almost like the sound guy losing power at your live show or something. It's kind of
right. I mean,
if he's not equipped enough to innovate right on the spot, then your show could be damaged. So.
I love that, man.
It's a thing to where it's a collective unit, and that's one of the things I love. Like I just watched, we just went to the Trivium show and stuff, and like that's one of the things I loved about Trivium is he was like, Matt Heafy was like, hey, I want to thank the sound guy. He was thanking them by name too. Like it's so crazy, cool. Like and you hardly ever hear that from a band. Not saying that that's anything wrong with it. You just hardly ever hear it, mainly because they probably don't have time. But
that's true.
Somebody in the back of
themselves, man.
Well, yeah. Well, that somebody in the back of the venue's going,
Curfew is a fucking curfew.
Especially with the metal
Weeknight, there's a fucking curfew.
Yeah, it's like, this is metal. There ain't no curfew.
Well, I mean, if it was up to the bands, there wouldn't be. It'd be like, fuck, we'll play until 1:30. It doesn't even matter. So
those are some of the best shows.
Yeah, so kind of want to revert back. Does your mom still, or is she still involved in everything?
Or? For Incite, not so much. I think coming when we entered the pandemic, it just kind of like hit me about how much she was doing already between Max's, 10 projects and, her whole family, her household, all the other millions of things she does. So it kind of came to a point where for us, it was better to have somebody more hands-on, more involved with us. So she's kind of more my confidant. I'll hit up before I'm about to make a contract move or, a big decision because, she has that experience to make me feel a little more comfortable,
right.
But
so when you
recently, if you can't trust your mom, shit's fucked. So I love that.
Yeah.
But we're with FM Music Management, man, and they've been everything we look for. I think a band can't make it without the team being there, and that's the thing I've learned. If one part's missing, the whole thing sucks. So Chris Canella, he's come in and he's taken care of us. He's shown us a whole new direction. They have bands like Testament and Death Angel and Exodus and all these bands that kind of can show us a good route to take this next step. And that they've been the best thing that's happened to us in a long time, along with Reigning Phoenix music record label as well, man. So we've found that team.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how you.
Yeah, that was kind of like one of the things when you brought it up was kind of what brought you to hear from Minus Head Records. I know Minus did a lot of your earlier stuff. So
yeah, so we after Gloria, we linked up with Dez from Devil Driver. He had his management company, the Oracle, and we were at a crazy place when he came in and tried to put his hands on the band and get the direction going and things like that, but unfortunately with him, with his health and everything that's kind of been happening, right. I think, he and us had to, just decide that it was better to let us go and let him focus on his health and getting better. And, we love him and everything he did for us and everything he's done for me as an inspiration. And then, that led to where we are now, which, like I said, everything happens for a reason, man. And we're here for all the reasons that we needed.
It's funny it's funny you bring that up too, because I was listening to, I was in the car and I hit my little voice button and say, hey, play Incite on Spotify. So it just starts playing all of your guys' stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got to the point a few days later where I done went through it all, right?
Yep.
So then it starts playing another song. And then I'm just like, oh wow, this one, I don't know if I've ever heard this one. Like, and I go down, I look down, and it says Devil Driver on it, and I'm like, okay, well that's not Incite.
Man.
Because that was the thing. Is like I was like Richie when you first popped in when you popped into the, I guess the quote unquote green room, our backstage area in the studio here. I was telling Jason about my whole situation this week because I don't, whether you heard or not, I actually just started working at General Motors and I'm working on the line and I'm able to actually listen to music. You're allowed to have these bone conducting earphones. They don't go in your ear, they go around your ear. So I'm able to listen to music on the line. The only problem is I got gloves on. I'm working with engines. Everything is covered in oil. I have my phone on my hip and I had to work last night. So, I mean, I've been up since 4:00 yesterday afternoon. I worked all night. I haven't been to sleep. But like last night, Thursday night, and Wednesday night, I listened to all of your albums all the way through on the line.
Damn.
Every single one.
Yeah.
I started from the beginning. Well, all except of The Slaughter, because The Slaughter isn't on Spotify. But I started with All Out
really?
War. It's not on there.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's not on there. I thought it was interesting too, but I'm a third of the way through it on YouTube, so I am going to listen to it. I didn't get a chance to finish it this morning, but I started with All Out War and worked my way all the way up through Wake Up Dead while I was at work, and I did that 3 nights in a row. So I listened to all 5 of those albums on the line. My commute to and from work, I had the new album in the email that Curtis sent us, so I listened to that about 5-6 times this week. So like I say, I am probably 90% through with your catalog in its entirety. But like I was telling Jason, I was listening to the 5 albums on my phone, but I started at the beginning and of All Out War, and I worked my way all the way through Wake Up Dead, all the way through 3 nights in a row. But like I say, I don't have a pen on me. I've got gloves on. They're covered in oil. I have my phone right here. I'm listening to every song.
Can't take notes.
I can't take notes. I'm like, fuck, what song was that? That was a cool, no, I like that breakdown. That was a cool fucking guitar riff. And like, that does sound like Devil Driver. That sounds like Lamb of God. That's so I mean, I've got all this shit going on in my head. It's like, I can't write it down. I don't know what song that was. It's like, fuck, what song was that? So it's kind of a new experience for me to be able to listen to this amount of music all in one shot, but not to have my hands free, even though I have my hands free, but I'm working. And it's strange because I have listened to everything that you, with the exception of 8 songs at this point. Because like I say, I'm a third of the way through the Slaughter. I've still got 8 songs to listen to, but I have listened to everything other than those 8 songs. But I don't have a record of, okay, I like this. This was, I could hear that. So I was like, I have all this music that I listen to, and I don't have enough specifics because I couldn't write anything down. I didn't have any paper on me while I was listening to all this music. So I don't know. So it was an awesome situation being able to listen to the catalog in its entirety because, you know, I basically got to listen to the maturity of the band, you know, with the exception, like I say, at the time of the Slaughter, I am catching up on that. But from All Out War to Wake Up Dead, and now with Savage New Times coming out in August, thanks to Curtis. But you know, it's so strange how all of this stuff kind of comes about because you just talked about Des Fafara, Devil Driver. I've been a huge fan of his all the way back to the Cold Chamber days. Actually got to meet him in 2004 at Ozfest. So that was kind of cool that I got to do that. But it's weird how all this stuff comes around because we had no idea about that detail until you just told us. Mm-hmm. And yet we're listening to the music, and it's like, because I don't know, because like Jason was like, you know, he listened to a song that thought was yours, looked down and it wasn't, but it was on the playlist of similar artists. And I'm sitting there listening to it going, that sounds like Devil Driver. Come to find out that he's actually in your circle and is an influence of yours. And, you know, whether it was directly, you know, in the business or whatever. So, I mean, you got just another ingredient to the recipe that became you as a musician.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you got to hear the whole catalog because, you know, you hear like the early records where it was like bad producers or not a cool functioning band, you know, but then I think you kind of like on that 4th album, Oppression, it kind of all begins to slowly take shape, you know, from linking up with Steve Ebbets finally and, you know, having him produce, you know, 4 albums in a row for us now. And just all the people behind it, you know, it's all got us to where we are. And Devil Driver is a huge influence on us. You know, back in 2015, we even got to tour with them. And, you know, I think it just, you know, Des falls back to, 98 Ozfest when I was, you know, 15 watching them on the side of the stage, that kind of being like a huge inspiration at that time when they first came out. And, you know, getting to work with him for that, you know, 2-year period was just a cool experience, getting to see like someone who was a role model and also like helping direct the band. It was a cool experience, and, you know, nothing but love for him and the wife and, you know, everything they're doing, and just hoping he, you know, comes back 100% health wise, you know.
Well, him and his wife both, because I mean they've both had
had
health issues. So I mean, because Devil Driver was supposed to come here. What was it, Jason? 2-3 years ago they were supposed to come to Nashville.
It's been longer than that. It's been a minute. So
okay, well they had to drop.
It was pre-pandemic. So
yeah, because that's right. It was that's right.
Yeah, he's went through an entire lineup change too recently. You know,
it's
hard stuff, man.
But I mean, he had to drop off that one tour that was supposed to come through Nashville with Static X and Dope, and because his wife got ill. And the thing that pissed me off about that was people were pissed at him for going home and taking care of his wife. Yeah. People are just trash, man. I mean,
those were the people that were
the internet, man. You know?
Yeah.
Those were the people that were at the show with their girlfriend while their wife was at home, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's hard sometimes for people to understand that, we do have a life and we are normal people at the end of the day, with things going on, bills to pay, children, wives, whatever. It's a lot of things that are incorporated that people don't believe sometimes,
Yeah. I mean, they just, some, and it's the internet. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, the internet is necessary, but just the worst people are on it, and it sucks.
You should have to show your face and your name and all those things. I think that would change a lot of the way people act online, because 90% of the people that do this stuff online in a human interaction in person, they're not going to do that stuff. They're not going to say that stuff. So it's a weird vibe. You want people to be free, I guess you say it, but the internet sucks, man. I went through a hardcore harassment thing for a year or two there too from someone, and online they have unprecedented access to things. They can make 1 million fake pages and 1 million fake emails, and police and courts, they can't do much about it, with the way the internet works. So it's a wild time, man.
I want to know what these people do. They can't have a life or a job if they have that much time to build up all these.
Right, I know.
I'm just like, dude, what do you do? How do you have time to do this stuff? Like,
they are, man. Pleasure. Like they fully inundate themselves into that, man. I mean, they go looking at every post that's made about you. They go everything, man, and it's like, what is going on? And you kind of, I think over time you just build that buffer where you just whatever, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to read comments, or I read something about like the Corey Taylor's son, reading some comments and being sad about it. That's just like,
but that's dumb.
That's just part of the life, man. I mean, you gotta know, bro. Like, this is what music is. This is what everything is. It doesn't matter music or your construction worker. There's people out there that are tough on you, and you gotta just chest up and roll forward.
Well, I guarantee you that was like one of those things. Was like, all right, well, I got upset and it made me cry. I'm not gonna do that shit again.
No, man. You just, I've been getting that stuff for 20 years. It's just part of the fun, man. It's like that. Rather than being like sad, it's motivation for me to be like better, to be fucking badder, to be, just a better band, where hopefully the next time that dude's like, man, that shit was sick, and that's the cool thing I've watched over the 20 years, man.
Well, it's funny you brought up the Corey Taylor and his son post, because his son, actually, I follow those guys on one of the, I think it's Instagram, and he was posting. I remember when he was posting something about that, and I commented on it. I said, dude, let me tell you something. I've been listening to Slipknot for years, and let me tell you, I think you guys are harder than Slipknot. Yes, you sound like your dad. I mean, you're going to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You get certain you get certain attributes passed down during
right and
yeah, right. So,
influence, influence is that so big, too, man.
I always hate that too, that people think because you sound like another band that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing to me. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where if it was me and you were like, oh, I wanted to sound like that guy, I would be more, like, oh man, that's so awesome of you to, to me, I would be more, polite about anything like that. I don't know why people get so upset about.
I don't either. I don't either, man. Like, that's your job as a musician, is to influence people. I think the more people that you're influencing and the more people that are creating their new music off a basis of your sound, that's what music's about, man. We've grown from bands like Judas Priest and Metallica, Slayers, Testaments, Sepulturas, Pantera, you know, and that's what we've created from all that, you know. So it's just the way it is, and people get sick of it, they can move on to the next thing, you know.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's what's great. I mean, just pick another band to listen to on Spotify and fuck off. Exactly.
We talk about how good your PR guy is. Look, he's in here listening. So I mean, you know,
hey, what up, Curtis?
Curtis has been hooking us up with a lot of interviews here lately, man.
Man, Curtis, you know,
he is doing work.
And not just Curtis, the whole team over there, dude. They fill our stuff up.
Angelo,
I can't listen to everything they send every week. I mean, I'd love to have that time, but you know, unfortunately, I can't do it. Like I still got stuff downloaded they sent me that's coming out in like June that I still listen to.
Well, thanks for checking us out in there, man. Because I understand time is of the essence always. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing though. Is like we saw it. We saw it in the inbox.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember when it was. Hold on, I'll look back. But I saw it in the inbox. I saw that Curtis sent it, and I texted, I actually texted Jason. I said Curtis just sent us the entire new Incite album. He went, "Oh shit, really?"
Oh,
nice. I went, so
yeah.
So yeah,
I'm hyped on that. I didn't know. I thought he was just sending out the singles, so that makes me even happier, man.
Yeah.
No, we got the whole thing.
Because even the singles we're putting out, man, they're great songs, but the rest of the album has others that are just, they blow my mind, man. Like I love the singles, but I love a lot of the other songs that are not going to be singles, like this whole record, man. And I love that he's sending it out. That rules.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute adrenaline rush. That I don't want to go. I mean, we'll talk about the new album, but I don't want to like spoil it for people or anything else. I don't want to talk about. You know, because like we got the insight on it, we got to listen to it, and we're super duper like Curtis said, the whole album is so good. It absolutely is. But I mean, it is a banger from front to back. I will say this, because one thing I want to talk about specifically, because now it's out and everyone can listen to it and everything else.
That's pretty big words
there. That's setting the bar. That's setting the bar high, man. That's setting the bar high.
He has to say that because it's on his label. So.
That's right.
Yeah. I got it. I like it.
But no, one thing I wanted to talk about, because like I say, the song is out now, is how different Dolores is.
Yeah.
Definitely, man. Like
it is.
That's a song we've wanted to make for so long, man. Like, in just that musical style, you know, like, you know, we've proven that we can write the heaviest of songs.
Yep.
You know, obviously that's what we've done. But this new direction and new feel that we've been able to add is a huge testament to Lane, the new guitar player, and then Lennon also taking over writing. So Lennon and Lane did about half of the record each, you know. So I think you hear the new inspirations taking over, the new not being afraid, you know. We always had this like feeling on our shoulders that we just always had to be the heaviest band, the most pissed off band. And, you know, we're just like, we want to show people that we can grow musically and create these total outside the box songs. And that, I think, was the perfect, bam, here you go. Here's what we can also do, you know. And I was blown away when I first heard it, the whole process of making it, you know. Our bass player, he is like the most metal guy in the entire universe. I mean, he's what you call, you know, a gatekeeper.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Yeah.
Anytime, you know, so when we approached him with this song and this idea and these lyrics, you know, I was terrified, man. Like, I'm like, dude, I don't know if you're going to like this, but when we showed it to him, he was like, dude, this is the coolest song we've ever done. This is like my black metal, you know, this is all the inspirations that I have that I see this band being able to implement into our style. And Dolores just literally came out perfect, you know, and showed and evolving in our sound. And it reminds me of like Cemetery Gates, you know, of Pantera. When you heard that, you were like, damn, these dudes can do that too. Like, this is ridiculous. And, you know, that's what Dolores, became for us. And, you know, I was so nervous when it came out, but now like feeling the feedback from everybody, it's just like, man, this is what we should have did years ago.
Well, I mean, because like I said, there's nothing wrong. obviously with any of the music on the previous albums by far. You got 6 albums of quality material already. Because I mean,
Definitely.
that there's because even though, like I said, I don't have any specific notes for any of the shit I listened to this week.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a song that I was like, that one wasn't as solid. I didn't have any of that. There was no apprehension about maybe that song wasn't that great, and the album maybe wasn't as strong as this one or that one or anything. I didn't have any of that. I didn't hear a song that I didn't like. So you should feel good about that.
Oh, I'm hyped, man. I think every record we've done is great.
I absolutely think so too. And the funny thing is, talking about Dolores specifically, when I heard it, I thought a little bit. Excuse me. I thought a little bit about Cemetery Gates, a little bit, just the little ominousness of the intro. Because the funny thing is like it's got almost a 2-minute intro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All played by Lane, man.
Right, exactly. So I mean, you got the piano, and it's kind of dark and dark and ominous. And then talking about your black metal inspiration, when your vocals kicked in, it's like, holy shit, he sprinkled a little Danny Filth in there on this one. So I was like, really, at least that's how it sounded. Yeah. At least that's how it sounded to me.
But I can hear that now, yeah.
But again, it was an evolution of just your vocal style too at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Something that I don't
changes.
Right, something that I didn't recall hearing anything of on the other albums. So
I think it comes back to that, just feeling like I had to do some certain way that people expected because of me being, a Cavalera. It was like probably self pressure, not really from everybody else. So I think as times progressed, I've grown into my voice and how to use it. I've never been trained. I've never taken classes. I've never been taught by anybody. This is just all something that I have just did, man. I just knew I could yell, so I was like, I got that part down, and I really knew I could do more, man, and really not be the one holding the band back. It was like, I finally get to do this other vocal performance that I wanted to do, even like on Just a Rat or, like that album has a lot of songs, I think, where my voice does take that next level. And it kind of began on the last album, Wake Up Dead, I think, with like Mental Destruction and Deadbeat. You started to hear this new evolution of where I wanted to go vocally, and this album just captured it perfect, man.
Definitely noticed that like as time has gone on and the albums have progressed, your ceiling seems to kind of has slowly kind of like you've been able to push the ceiling higher and higher as far as like your vocal range and everything like that. So it does seem to be like something tangible that you've been able to hear. Of course, then obviously, like we say, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, of course, I don't see any reason why couldn't progress even more, because like I say, I'm sure because like every artist is their own worst critic, so I'm sure you're like, all right, I got to this point on Dolores, how much further can I go? So that's probably in back of your mind, even when you were putting that song together. It's like, all right, this is where I've gotten to. Is this where I want to stop? And based on what you've told us so far, I seriously doubt that this is probably as far as I can go. So I have a hard time believing you're like, all right, well, I hit that note on that song, and that's probably going to be as far as I'm going to go with this. I have a hard time believing you're just going to leave it lay there. So
yeah, no way. I think that's the best thing about making music, man. Like, it's just pushing forward. You can always get better in this. And like, for us, to be 7 albums in and just finally we feel like reaching where we wanted to be. Like, most bands do that on their first record or two, and then they're trying to chase that again forever. For us, we've never had that smash hit, so we've had a good upgrade on how we can grow as a band, continue to be better and better and better. And it's like, now from Wake Up Dead to now, it's like, I think we locked in that next level of where we want to go. And now with Mental Destruction and Dolores and Never Die Once, I think we can even go even crazier, man, and even darker. And, I think also adding so much personal experience into it. Like, Dolores comes from, a dream I had when I was a kid that was recurring all the time, and this feeling, this entity, this vibe of what I was seeing, it stayed with me forever, man. And it's crazy because Wake Up Dead was going to be called Dolores, but
Okay.
Really?
management didn't like that. So then we scrapped that, and then Dolores ended up becoming this song, which was so cool because had it been the title of the record, it never would have became this song. So the way
Right.
things just play out in life, man, it always blow me away. And
Yeah.
it's always meant to be when it's meant to be.
Right. Hindsight being what it is, you were probably pissed off at the time, but then, now fast forward from 2022 to 2025, you're like, okay, fine. Yeah, it kind of actually worked out in the end. So, yeah.
It's like my manager was a genius.
Right.
I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
I love
now,
that. That's
so,
cool.
okay, because I was actually going to ask you if if Dolores was kind of a personal song to you, because it sometimes you can tell, you kind of get a feeling that a song it's got like some sort of deep inside meaning to it. So I was going to ask you about that. And you just answered the question anyway, but
I think that's the whole record, man.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
I think it was like, let me lay out who I am as a person and all the shit I had went through, and it's all common things like divorce, financial, friendship, family, everything. It wasn't like, oh, I got to just write how pissed off I am or like murdering people in a metaphoric sense. It was more like, no, I'm going to lay out my soul on this one and watch people resonate with it because it's so relatable. Everybody goes through these things.
Absolutely.
Well, it kind of like, to me, just what you were saying kind of expresses the title of the album, the upcoming album, in a way, because it's Savage New Times. So it's
man.
All those things kind of led up to where you're at. So
yeah,
100%, and that's the best music, man. When you can dump your soul into it, that's like the most cleansing, man. Like now I can build up my whole vibe for where we go next.
Well, and now that you've added like this, the best way I describe it, the way I feel about it is when Machine Head came out with The Blackening back in 2007. To me, that kind of, because I've been a fan of Machine Head fucking forever, but Machine Head kind of like what Pantera did, because Jason and I are of the opinion that there's like two eras of Pantera. There's two versions, and I kind of subscribe to the point of view that Machine Head started Machine Head version 2 when The Blackening came out.
Yeah.
So, to me, and I don't know if you feel that this may be a jumping point specifically or the album as a whole, when I listened to the album a few times and then like Dolores just kept just popping out. Of course, it's the longest song on the album, but I mean, that has nothing to do with it. But it is the most, it's different from all the other songs in a good way, of course. But my whole feeling is like, this could be their jumping off point to their Incite 2.0. Do you get a sense that might be the case for you now that you've officially laid this blueprint down? Because now you can stick with what got you to the dance, all of, the formula that got you here on the first six albums, even though there's still some of that pissed off, aggressive, like I say, adrenaline rush, 2.5 minute kick to the balls. That stuff is on the album, but you added in this new elements. I mean, you're not just traveling on this road right here. You can just do this shit.
That's the coolest explanation I've ever heard for it. Because I think it's shown everywhere in the band. Like the new logo, the new record label, the new manager. I think we literally had to do a complete relaunch, rebrand, everything of Incite, for this new era. Like the way it was just perfect. This album, I think even going back to Wake Up Dead was the beginning of that transition to be like, oh, hey, like we had a acoustic guitar intro on that record and we had never done that. And that kind of like opened our senses up to, hey, we can we can add all these other elements into Incite without losing what, you know, we want it to be. So to have this moment where we are rebirthing in a sense, you know, as a band musically and every other aspect is like, man, you just don't get that. And so we're not going to lose that. We're going to push it forward and try to create these intricate new age feeling songs that we would listen to as music heads, you know? So that's the funnest part. Yeah. You nailed it on the head with the total like 2.0 feel. Cause I think that's definitely us right now. And a cool, but scary feeling, you know?
Is it, but I mean, at the same cool and scary, but at the same time, I would assume that it's also energizing and invigorating too.
Yeah, like, dude, I haven't been on stage in, you know, like 6 months. And I think like to get to play these songs and thinking about them and just everything, man, it's a great time. And I think having the right band together too, man, that changes everything. Like, you know, we were dealing with our former guitar player, Drew, you know, and that got so bad to where, you know, the three other guys, we didn't want to be on stage, man. We didn't want to ride in the van. We didn't want to deal with that stuff. And, you know, it felt like it was like, this is just turning so sour. And then you had to have the new guy and new songs. It literally, like revigorated all of us, dude. Like we're so fired up to hit the stage and to play and to keep creating music. Like, you know, Lennon and Lane are already writing the next record. Like that's how pumped they are. And that never happens. Normally I'm like, bro, right. I need songs. Like,
well, I
know,
mean,
they're just like going at it, man. It's great.
Well, I mean, you guys have been like, because I mean, the first, you know, it took a little bit. It took a little bit of time when the band first started from '04 to '09 to get the first album out. But then you went 9, 12, 14, 16, 19, 20. So I mean, you guys don't fuck around.
When we're allowed to, man, yeah, we go for it. I'm a fucking I'm a hard ass, man. I mean, I work my ass off. You know, I don't want to be the one that messes it up. You know, I don't want to be the one to look back and be like, damn, I could have went harder. You know, it's like I'm a very competitive person. I don't quit, you know, so it's cool to have a band where I could be like that and, you know, have the guys that embellish that kind of work attitude and vibe and that what they're doing, you know, so it works, man. It really works.
I was about to say it's got to be nice to have the rest of the lineup come together and have the chemistry now that's ingrained in you four guys. So it's got to be, because, you know, because I mean, you know, there's a lot of former members, you know, on this list. So I mean, you know, but to be able to have a lineup solidified with personalities that all mesh together, that know how you are and know how you expect them to be, and everyone buys in, and then this is what comes out of it.
Yeah, and I think obviously looking at all those guys, you know, I think only one of them has went on to do anything musically. So you
really?
see that picture that, hey, like I made the right choices by these guys not being in love with music or being dedicated to do that stuff. You know, I think the original drummer from '04 is the only guy that does anything musically. He's, you know, in hip hop now. So all those other dudes said they wanted it and thought they wanted to, but when they were given the chance, it just wasn't what they actually wanted to do or be, you know? So that's the cool part of looking back. Like, you know, I dodged a lot of bullets that could have ended my career, but I didn't allow that. I kept going and you know, found the guys that took Incite in as their own.
Yeah. And also, when you kind of bring that up, kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is maybe they got into it and it wasn't the glamour and everything they thought it was. So they were just, I gotta actually work. Oh shit!
It wasn't.
Yeah, I don't have a roadie and I gotta drive in a van. I'm not on a tour bus. Like, what is this? You know, we never had a tour bus. Like, we never had a roadie. Nothing.
There might be days where I don't eat. You know,
I gotta steal a Snicker bar to eat that day. Like,
I mean, all those fucking stories, you know, you know, hell, even,
dude.
I mean,
our first tour, we had a CD burner in our van and we would burn the CD and staple our little covers, you know, and drive to each show on our first tour we ever did. And, you know, our first tour, we didn't sell $1 in merch on the first show. and we were like in Texas, so far from Arizona. It was like, we aren't going to be able to do this tour, but we can't go home because we don't have enough money. So it was like, we'll go to the next one and see how that turns out. And it was like, oh, we sold a CD and a shirt. So then you started to build your momentum, and before you knew it, you were like, okay, we finished the tour. And then you're just like, oh shit, like, where does it go now, man? And it's a crazy ride, man. That's for sure. Like, music's wild.
Well,
I think it's like, a testament to anything entertainment wise too, because I think if you got people growing up saying, "Oh, I want to be a movie star," then they get into doing that kind of stuff and realize, "Oh, this isn't what everything it's all made out to be," and it's not. Like I know Chris is like, "Oh, this."
No, I knew you were going to get to it. I knew you were going to get to it.
But people on the show probably get tired of hearing it. But I was a professional wrestler for 18 years before I got into doing any of this. So.
Hell yeah.
And I got into that next step and that next phase. And when I got there, it was a choice. You had to make that choice. It's like, all right, you're going to be on the road 265 days a year. I'm like, no, I'm not. I have 2 toddlers at home. I'm not going on the road 200 days a year. So I had to make that choice. It's like, okay, am I going to go this and put a strain on my family by doing this, or am I going to go home and be the family guy that I need to be? So it's almost like a responsibility that I felt like anyway. I mean, everybody can look at it differently, but I felt like, hey, this is my responsibility at home. I have to take care of that first. So, once the kids get old enough to go to school or whatever, and it came back around, if the opportunity came back around, then okay, we'll see what happens then. But, at that point I was needed at home. So, it's sad. It's always going to be one of those things in the back of my mind going, what if? But but then I think about it. I'm like, if I had to do it again, I'd probably do the same thing. So it's not really that big of a deal. But I think people don't realize that there's sacrifices you have to make in anything that you do entertainment wise, because,
and not
even,
just you,
even
your family has to make as well.
Exactly.
That's hard on them. And, that's been my battle being gone so much, is like, having a fiance at home, gone for 3 months at a time. It's difficult, but you find ways to make it work. And my girl's cool. She likes to come out and sell merchandise and be involved too. So
there you go. That's good.
That's good that she wants to at least be a part of it, because
she hated metal, man, and then she heard this record, and this record is the one that changed her. She like heard Just a Rat. It was like, oh, this is the best song I've ever heard, and it was playing in our house for months. And, she's really been my biggest supporter, and that I think has been something that changed in my life too. Having someone that really supports what I'm doing and loves it and wants to be involved with it. I think, like you said, that can be really hard to not have the ability to be able to co-balance those things. So.
And it's just like and it's like I said, just like anything entertainment wise, because I've done some acting too, and you get some of these jobs where you're like, okay, well, you got to go to, say you got to go from Nashville to San Diego for 3 months to shoot something. Well, then you got to leave all your family back in Nashville. So it's kind of like, now I can do that because my kids are grown. But you're just saying, if you were in a situation where you have a 2 or 3 year old at home, you got like, okay, can I be gone for 3 months? Is the wife going to be okay with that? Or, by the time you get back, she's done pulled her hair out, sitting on the, or your shit's on the front porch, when you get home.
All like, your shit is moved. And, you sometimes you feel like you come into a strange house, man. Like, it's a heavy vibe, man.
Yeah. You got your kids saying that Uncle Mike has been at the house a lot, and you'd be like, I don't have it. We don't have an Uncle Mike. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's all my biggest fear right there, man. Uncle Mike.
It's like, hey, Dad, does the mailman always come in the house to deliver the mail?
That's so good.
Not normally, kid. Not normally.
Yeah, be like, I thought we got milk from Walmart. We don't even think we had a milkman.
It's funny because they don't realize that's what we think so much, but they're thinking the same thing because we're out doing something that's perceived that image, but it's like, this day and age and touring, it's like you're just kind of sitting in the van smoking weed, and you go to bed at like midnight. Nobody really does anything anymore because they're too scared. So
too scared and too fucking tired.
Well, it's like the times have changed so much with back when we grew up, where everybody partied and shit. They did the show, then they went out and partied. And I mean, I'm sure some bands still do that, but for the most part, you hear a lot of the bands being like, "Hell, we just go to the hotel and play Xbox," or it's like, they're just doing everyday stuff.
There's a camera everywhere. There's a phone everywhere.
That's true. That is true.
I think we all are very lucky to have grown up, went to school in those eras where that wasn't prevalent. It's not like we were doing bad shit, but we were having fun. Everybody was
did
being
bad shit.
Present, like we all were. But man, like it just the vibe has changed. People are too scared to just be themselves anymore out there.
Well, I'll be the first to tell you, I did shit at 15 that I would probably still be in jail for right now if we had social media. So we won't go into a lot of it, but let's just say I would probably still be at least on. I would still at least be on paper paying probation officers probably. But
probably.
We just go to bed and smoke weed, man, and drive to a Flying J and party there.
And the funny thing is I mean, and this is something we'll get to a little more specifically later, but I mean, even the amount of stuff you probably saw from, because like you say, from when you were a kid to now, talking about, I mean, just the amount of concerts you've probably seen from the side stage. So, I mean, you had earlier Incite than, 99.9% of the people on this planet will ever have. I
was very fortunate, man.
Right. But
I started to realize life around like Chaos AD, Arise.
Yeah.
I was like, that's where like, I was like, damn, this is some serious shit going on around me. Like everything prior to that was like small club shows of like Sacred Reich or Atrophy. But then it was like when Sepultura started to become them, and the next thing you know, you're like at Ozzy's house for like Christmas and becoming like best friends with Jack. And like having someone to relate to, like, Ozzy smoked a cigar with me, and that was the first time I had ever smoked a nicotine of any kind. I was probably like 12, and like him cooking me fries. I remember, and just all these things, or like Pantera tours were just debaucheries, man, back then. Like, I look over and I'm like 12 years old throwing beers off the stage with like chicks in bikinis and shit, or like watching Dime blow a microwave up in a field, like it was just there's something crazy happening every single day, man. Or and to see that and to feel that, to like that I think is what ultimately grew my excitement to where I love this so much, man. It's like I wish everybody got to see that era of how fun touring was. Like 98 Ozfest, that was like, I think, the pinnacle of everything that came before it, man. Like that was just with Limp Bizkit and Snot, Lynn Straight, all these people that were just thrown in this tour for a month.
Yeah.
It was insanity, man. Like every day was like some insane shit. Like, but it's what metal was. It was about having a good time, and camaraderie was so tight amongst artists then, that kind of left, but coming back a little more these days.
I actually do like that it does feel like that is coming back around. But Jason, we fucked up? We should have just called this Metalheads Unite presents Richie Cavalera's Road Stories. We could have just let him.
That's true.
We could have just let him. We could have just let him tell stories for 2 fucking hours. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, nobody. I don't think anybody could ever come on the show again and have Ozzy cooked me fries. Like,
oh, bro, that was the craziest. Like, so I had like, Kelly, the other Osborne, me and her were the same age. So we kind of had a tour crush, and I woke up one morning in their house and there was like a note written from her, and it was like, "You American," and like all this like crazy British shit. And one night I'm going to tell this even because there's the older sister Amy, that nobody really knows, And
she decided to stay out of the limelight.
Yeah, and she was really cool. And one night, me and her were cool too. I was cool with all the kids, and I'd go over there, and like I said, I'd stay at their house. And one night, I can't remember, it was late, but me and Amy were hanging out, and she's like, "Quick, Ozzy's coming under the bed." So I'm underneath her bed as Ozzy walks in, and he's like, who the hell is under your bed? I gotta come sliding out, little 13, 14-year-old Richie, just terrified. It's fucking Ozzy yelling at you, like it was crazy, man. Like I really grew up, like I say, in that time where I was kind of one of the first kids out there, being involved with metal, and Ozzy being the same way, and it just created a lot of cool experience. Robert Trujillo, I had a lot of funny times with him, and he was kind of the overseer of the kids on tour and stuff, and like, man, we left Jack Osborne at the Mall of America one time, and we came back to the hotel, and there's Ozzy and Sharon just chewing our asses out. Like, it was always just something, man. We were just always trying to cause ruckus.
Jack was the Joe Dirt of the community. He got lifted.
They were really great, man. They were really great and did a lot of good things for a lot of bands. I think they were the first kind of family that really helped people, and just great, man. What a time.
That's one of the things, like, I think too that has changed a lot is, like, there's a lot more of the older bands willing to kind of pass a torch. You know what I mean? Like, I think there was a time there where that wasn't really a thing, where you just like,
I think so.
I'm so happy you said that.
I think so. I agree.
The big bands were literally killing music for a while there.
Yeah.
You had Machine Head doing 4 years straight of an evening with. It's like you could have taken 3 unknown local acts every night because you didn't want to deal with bands and gave them a chance, but they didn't. And then they started buy-ons and all this shit, dude. They were literally single-handedly destroying the future of metal. And after the pandemic, I think everybody kind of was like, what the fuck are we doing? Let's open the door for these bands just like they had the chance. When those bands came up, they weren't having to do buy-ons. They weren't having to buy fucking all this shit, Right. So I understand, obviously, there's more bands than there were back then. But,
still, I mean.
You got to help the future, man. Every other music does it. Pop, all of them, man. And that's why they continue to grow. So now this is happening for us.
I think even Dave from Megadeth kind of gotten on that. Okay, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. Who am I going to take on tour with me to say, hey, these are the next guys, And, he's been taking, like, In Flames. Of course, In Flames has been out for a while, but he's been taking, like, In Flames, Code Orange. I'll tell you a band that I think in the next 10 years would probably be as big as Malevolence, man. Those guys are so fucking great, dude.
I'm stoked because we're going to play with them on Summer Slaughter, actually.
Dude, don't. Where's this at, dude? I'm like buying tickets already.
Hatebreed's headline, and it's like Jamie Johnson.
That's right. I've seen that.
Just took over Summer Slaughter,
right.
man.
Yep.
It's Malevolence and Fugitive and Incite, Snuffed on Sight. Like, dude, such a killer bill.
I tell you what, man, Jamie's another one of those guys where I don't think he gets enough credit for for the business, man, because he's taken over a couple of things that could not be even relevant right now, but he took them over and kept them going. And a lot of people don't realize that that's a big thing. I mean, because especially like, what was the metal festival that he took over? Was it Mayhem or
Milwaukee Metal Fest?
Milwaukee Metal Fest. Yeah. So he took, that was a big thing, man. Like, if he had took that over, it's just going to be one festival not out there anymore, And that's kind of sad.
It was on the brink of
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I think that a lot of people's like, oh, all their stuff sounds the same. I'm like, okay, so what? Like,
he's a road dog, man. He's a road dog. Like, he is, for real. Mm-hmm. I watched, like, they did a tour early with Soulfly. I think it was like 99. It was like Head PE, Snot, Hatebreed, and Soulfly, man, like in the early days. So like I got to really know that band and watch Jamie and learn, and he's been, a really cool supporter of Incite, since all that time, because we were youngins on that tour, like drinking Jaeger and pulling our balls out on the tour, but it was just all crazy, man. Like, so to be here now and him kind of be like where Max was then, taking out Incite where we're like Hatebreed was then, it's cool, right, man. And that comes back to, paying it forward, and helping bands out and keeping the scene growing, man. Because, we need new headliners. We need those new bands that are going to keep people interested for the next 20 years. So it's good to see this.
We talk about it on the show all the time. We do. Like, because
there's a lot of good bands out there that are younger that you know, we've talked to a couple of bands in their 20s. I think one of the bands we talked to weren't even old enough to drink yet. So I mean, it's kind of like So
awesome.
I mean, there's bands out there.
Yeah.
We just got to get them out there in front of people and get them the support they need to get them up to that level. So I mean,
that's it, man,
you know,
right there.
that, you know, and I mean, if it's just us doing it, then that's fine. But hopefully, some other podcasts to come around and see this, or
or hopefully,
not necessarily with you, but because I mean, you've obviously gotten stuff lined up for a while from what I hear. So,
thank God, because man, we sat since like 2020. We really sat. Like, I think when we were on a roll coming into the pandemic, we had just done a Europe headline tour. We did a festival in Mexico, literally the day before they lockdown started. So,
oh man,
we just went straight flat down from there, man. And then when things started to come back, there were so many bands backlogged on shows and touring and all. It was impossible to get anything, man. And so finally now in 2025, it's beginning to churn. We were doing 120 shows a year prior to that. Now we did one show last year, all of last year. So
wow.
it was a hell of a life change for all of us. I mean, my bass player, he's going nuts at home, man. Like, he's ready to just kill people. I can't wait for this tour. Like, we are going to be like a nuclear bomb going off.
I was going to say, it's going to be a lot of aggression going on.
Everybody better look the fuck out. If we are the opening band, it is going to be a serious bar high set out the gate.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Because, I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, how do you pick a set list for that shit? I mean, you got a new album.
We're going all new shit, man. We're gonna just blast people.
There you go. I mean, there you go.
We're gonna.
I mean, that's all you need, because that's all you need. I mean, you just come out and just like metaphorical cinder block to the forehead. I mean, you may as well. I mean,
it's 25 minutes. I think our set time is. So I'm not talking. We are literally just gonna nuke people, dude. I can't wait. Like, I can't even fathom how this tour is going to be, because there's so much of that release that we haven't done that we're so accustomed to. And that's where we thrive, man. I think we started to garner attention was because of our live show, the energy, the intensity. I love being a hype man to get people to fucking go and smile and have a good time. So to not have had that, dude, like I'm like itching inside of just how excited I am for these shows, man.
Well, especially to have to go from 100 to 0, like the full stop, like you talked about, like what the fuck happened, So I mean,
I questioned my whole life, man.
I'm sure. I've never had anything like. I don't think I've ever had anything like that in my life where I've been able to just devote all my attention to it. Of course, give or take a few things. Life always fucking throws curveballs at you, but. Oh, yeah. I don't think I've ever had anything where I've had to just completely stop for just shit that was out of my control like that. So I mean, to have that snatched away from you, like that, you and everybody else. I mean, just because like the world stopped. But I mean, to be at the pace you guys were going, and then just that brick wall. I mean, it just it
was great for the scene, like. I think bands were at the point where they were canceling shows. They were phoning it in, as we call it. That's where we see a big band go up there and half-ass their show because maybe the crowd isn't going as crazy as they'd like. For us, the pandemic reset that. It's like when you came out of that, if you weren't fucking playing as hard as you could go and loving every minute of it, then just get the hell out of here. There's enough bands that are hungry where we don't need you. Like, if you're just doing this to collect your check or to stay famous, then music doesn't care for you right now. This is about the people that are hungry and fucking love what they're doing, man. And
that is a fantastic point. I think it was, and like Jason was just talking about, it was a reality check for everybody. It was a reset, like you said, of course it was a literal almost reboot for the entire planet. But I mean, as far as talking just specifically about the industry, I think you're right. It was a reset. And I think that's kind of gave, like Jason said, some of these older bands a little bit of clarity. It's like, hey, we almost didn't get to come back to do this. Now that we're back, how much more time do we have and what's going to be behind us? So, I mean, there was a lot of bad shit that that happened during that pandemic. And we don't need to get into the politics of any of that shit because that's not what we do here. But you look at the aftermath and you look at like some of the good shit that came of it. So, I mean, there was
good music.
There was,
definitely came from that.
Oh, I mean, God, just the amount of music that we had to cover that got just all these new releases that we had to cover on this show. And the funny thing is, I mean, this is it hasn't slowed down. It hasn't slowed down for us. It absolutely has not slowed down for us at all. And we're loving it because, like Jason said, all the emails that we get just from the labels that like Curtis and Corinne and Angelo and just the people from C Squared that are sending us music. Not to mention Scarlet Records is sending us music. What's the other one? Hang on.
Purple Sage.
Purple Sage. Yes. I mean, and those are people that found us.
Mm-hmm.
So on top
of
actually
as a guitarist for High Reaper was actually one of the PR people for one of the labels too.
He was for Purple Sage.
So he actually plays in one of the bands and is a PR rep.
Yeah. So he's got.
It's cool to see how many podcasts grew from the lockdowns. That's one of the coolest things to me because I don't think there were podcasts really prior to that, and when
not a lot
opened the door for everyday people to be like, yo, I want to fucking pump my bands. I want to pump music and talk. And I think it's the cool thing. I've done nothing but podcasts now as interviews, and I love them so much more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do try to keep this, under the guise of just, of course, in our case, just the three of us. But I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we had 4 people on. We've had whole bands on before. But I mean, we just try to keep this. Hey, we're all just metalheads, literally just shooting the shit, just trying to get to know each other.
All the differences stop at the door, man, and that's what I love about heavy metal.
Well, that's the great thing about. You talked about the community of it, and that's the great thing about. The older I've gotten, the more I pay attention to who's at the show.
Yep, I do too. I did it the other night.
In addition to who's at the show, or who's playing, but who also is watching. Because I didn't get to go. I didn't get to go to the Trivium and Bullet for my Valentine's show because of the shift that I'm on. So that got taken away from me. But Jason took a picture with his wife, his daughter. Are Alyssa and are they engaged yet? No. Okay. Well, I didn't want to make any assumptions. Alyssa and her boyfriend, and then my daughter.
Be, but
But anyway, but my daughter was there with the guy that she's seeing, and Jason took a picture with all of them together. So Jason's there, my daughter's there. So you have the parent age, the kid age. But I like to pay attention to who's at the show. I like to see the older people. I like to see the younger people, and I like to see men and women. I like to see people of other races. I love looking around a venue and seeing that. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It was very diverse there.
I love that.
It was really cool. Yeah, I mean, there was a black guy even crowd surfing up there. It was pretty cool to see.
I love that shit
because I mean, you see them there, but you hardly ever see them like participating like that, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
to see them actually,
I think all the younger bands, I think it's a huge part of it. And I think the subgenre thing is kind of dying, which is so great because, when we started, that was the thing, man. You had to have your own genre. And then if you couldn't like another genre. And it was just so stupid, man. So like that's evolved to where people are digging, 200 stab wounds and then they'll go listen to like the Deftones, So it's great to see that open up again.
That's one of the things we've always said here is like, at heart, we're both thrash guys. We grew up on thrash metal, so we've always liked thrash. But when it kind of branches out, then I'm kind of the metalcore guy, and he does more of the symphonic and stuff. And then it's kind of like, but the thing is like at the end of the day, we cover all bases of metal.
Everything.
Because of
metal,
what
man.
we listen to. Yeah, it's all metal. So it's like, and that's kind of what makes our show work so well, I think, is because we're knowledgeable enough to cover all areas and aspects of even the subgenres that they want to say. But that thing's always kind of killed me with kind of labeling. I mean, it's just metal. Like it sounds different, so we got to name it different. It shouldn't be how it is. It's just
it got way too crazy. It was like
it was what was it?
Hardcore, metalcore, degent.
Yeah,
it was like come
like
on,
19.
man. Like,
there was like 19 or something when we did that because we actually did that one day. They did a article on metal injection or one of those, and we went through it and was trying to see. They said, "All right, was the top 4 in all the subgenres."
It was.
I was like, Jesus.
It was the big 4 of the 17 heavy metal subgenres.
And 17. That's 17. Insane,
yeah, I think it's 19. Like the last I looked, so it's probably even more than that now because Sleep Tokens kind of got their own thing. So it's kind of gotten to where it's to me, like a lot of this stuff, they're like, oh, well, there's so and so metal. I'm like, dude, that's not even metal. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's kind of like it's getting out of hand where it's like including like, not to get off on something, but like, Beyonce in country is kind of what it's gotten to here. It's kind of like, oh, well, Ghost is. I mean, Ghost used to be metal. Like, if you go back and listen to early Ghost records, they were definitely death metal. But they've gotten too mainstream now, and they don't even sound metal anymore. And but people still enjoy it, and they still go. And we don't shit on them for doing that. That's the thing. Is like I hate that too. It's like, oh well, you don't like Tool, then you must be, you're fucked up. Like, no, I just don't like Tool. I'm saying I just don't. It's nothing to do with Tool.
I don't either.
Obviously, to me though, it's like they have played their part in the scene because look at the fan base. They have a huge fan base. So why would I shit on them? Because they've obviously proved that, I don't like Maynard in general, so that's kind of where I'm at. But other than that, it's kind of like I can listen to.
You can still appreciate what they've done.
Exactly.
You can absolutely respect the results. It's like because my daughter she likes to listen to like Lorna Shore. She listens to. I don't listen to deathcore, but my daughter does. And Kayla was trying to get me to. She was having me listen to Lorna Shore one day, and I was like, okay, this shit is not for me. It's just not. It's like don't get me wrong. I told Kayla, I was like, don't get me wrong. I can respect what Will Ramos can do with his voice. I can respect the talent. I said, but this is a little bit too much for even me. So it's like,
see, that's what's cool.
But I absolutely can respect it.
They're influencing like that, though. That's what's cool. The younger kids can find them, and then they'll go check out maybe Slayer or Korn, or So that as long as a band breaks them into it, there's so much for them to go experience.
Oh, sure,
that,
absolutely.
That's what I love about heavy music, man.
Yeah, there was one thing I told my wife a while back when we were. I'll get back to this in a minute too. We're getting ready to go to Louder Than Life, so for the Slayer reunion. So I was telling her, I say I would love to see everybody's like checkoff list of what they want to see, because I guarantee you it's so like you're going to see some of those in there that are so like crazy. You're just going to be like, how did they go from that to that? It's kind of there's going to be a lot of that in there because. Like you said, they're probably going to go see Slayer, then they're going to go see Lorna Shore or Whitechapel, and then they're going to go see Deftones. It's kind of like, or Breaking Benjamin, or, it's kind of like, wow, that's just kind of like all over the place, which is good, though, because like you said, we have a radio station that we do, and that probably is the best example of what our radio station is. There's stuff on there I would not listen to, but it's not for me. It's for people out there that want to listen to metal. So we put everything that we can on there. Yep. That people suggest stuff. I'm like, throw it on there. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of way it's gone. But that's to me, it's not. Yeah, it's not my personal radio. It is my radio station, but it's not my radio station. It's for you, the listener, not for me.
It's not our own personal Spotify playlist.
Exactly.
It's not that. It's not that.
And it matches the world because. You're like you said, these festivals, man, they didn't exist for so long, and if they did, it was one genre the whole way through. And now these are replicating the Europe festivals that I've loved so much. Like that's why Europe appealed to every music person for so long, because you go to these festivals, it's like, man, you can watch Britney Spears, go watch Iron Maiden, and then go see Slipknot and 200 Stab Wounds. It's like that's fucking music love. And you're seeing that now with these festivals. They're opening the door to cross these genres and do all that stuff. And that's the best, Like my favorite music has been reggae for the last 3 years. You know, I love like Stick Figure and Revolution and that kind of stuff. And then I go and play, you know, Up in Hell. So it's like, I think that's the cool thing about music, man. You can really love it all and not, you know, sacrifice what you're doing.
I think a lot of people don't realize too. I think if you're playing that type of music, I think you need something else to kind of wind you down from playing it. You know what I mean? Like you need something more relaxing and stuff to kind of bring you down because, you know, if not, the next thing you're pissing on top of police cars or something, you know, because you're so fucking wound up. You know?
I've always loved the playlists that come on in our van during tour, man. I mean, it's everything. You know, Lennon will listen to some Rihanna, and then it'll go to like L, who would drive and listen to nothing but Opeth, and you know, it's just like I love the vibe that each member has, and you know, just music in general is amazing.
Well, it's funny, like our granddaughter's like 5 and she's a little autistic, so she's really into music. So she'll listen to some things and like most of it's coming from like Disney movies or something, but she's kind of gotten into Owl City, which is like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know. I don't even know what to describe it as, but it's kind of like they started playing it in the car and I look at my wife and I said, you know, I hate this. And she said, why? I said, I hate that I don't hate it. That's what I think that's the biggest part. I hate that I don't hate this. It's like, she's, you know, so it's kind of like, I see where you're coming from. It's just like the weirdest bands would come along and like kind of grab you and you wouldn't expect it to, you know? So
totally.
So it's kind of, and that's the cool thing about music. And we've talked about that a lot on this show is how, you know, you may write a song with a feeling or something in mind, and then we may listen to it and get something totally different from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely.
And I think that's the cool thing.
That's the best part.
Yeah, exactly, because you're touching somebody in their own way. So you know, no two people at a show may have the same feeling about certain things either. So I mean, it's just kind of, you know, that's what makes the whole community so cool. And it's like people, you know, in the world think that all of the diversity going on now is just all like, you know, always been, you know, like a big bad thing. It's not a bad thing that you're so diverse. I mean, it's, you know, it's a good thing that you're into other things besides the norm. I mean, that's kind of what sets people out to be different.
Breaking out of your bubble is one of the best things you can do as a human.
Exactly.
You know, I think, you know, breaking out of the comfort zone, whether it is musically or life aspects, you know, it's great. You know, you always want to grow, and music is like the definition of all of that. You know, I think it's where you go from as a kid to an adult is completely different in what you listen to, like, play, you know, whatever. So, it's a cool thing.
Well, the funny thing is, if everybody stayed, in line with the norm, we wouldn't have fucking heavy metal.
Well, that's true
exactly,
too,
man.
I mean, we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have any of that shit because it was, of course, we all know it began for different reasons than, why we listen to it now, kind of. But, if not for one thing, it wouldn't have evolved into the thing that it is now that we all love. So, there's got to be some sort of catalyst somewhere, and there was, and it just evolved into what it is now. But
completely
evolution, change and all that. However you want to frame it, because I know evolution. You say the word evolution, and some people kind of like start clutching their pearls and shit like that. But I mean, it's
they do.
Yes, but I'm not talking about evolution.
You're not talking about Metallica making Load. You're talking about something completely else.
Right. I'm talking about something a little more broad than that. But of course, it's funny that you brought that shit up.
That pissed us all off.
Well, the thing is I mean, how the hell is there going to be 1,800 minutes of that shit?
It's crazy to me.
That new Load box set or whatever that's coming out there.
Oh God,
1,800 minutes.
Of what?
Of what?
I try to appreciate everything they do, man, but sometimes bands do things for whatever the hell reason they got excited about. It's always weird.
That's true.
It's always a weird.
And another thing that gets me is like, why that album? I don't understand. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have all of them. I have them all. But
I do too. So
I do. I have them all. I'm not ashamed of it. I bought Saint Anger. I have them all. But like, just that's the thing is like, I just don't understand. Of course, I know anniversaries and all that shit. But I mean, you had that much. You had that much shit all this whole time. I mean, I don't know.
They probably felt safe enough now to release something.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
well,
I think that's, or
like,
their writing takes 10 years or whatever to make an album, so they're
yeah,
probably
well,
just
it
trying
does. That's true.
to
It
package
does.
whatever they got at this point.
So
Yeah,
two things. Two things. I'll be seeing you guys in Atlanta because I just seen where the Hate Breed show's coming there. So I'm like,
We're actually not on that show, man.
Are you not? What the fuck? Are
No,
you
but
serious?
we're not doing the first 3 shows. Logistics problems,
Did
and they have
you
like people switching out each night, type of shit. So
did you just buy tickets?
I ain't gonna lie, they're in my cart. So,
oh man.
So they may be coming back out now, but I don't know.
If you don't see that one, we will see you again September, October. I probably shouldn't say it, but I think we're doing a tour with 6 Feet Under, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my lord!
Sweet. Okay,
nothing's confirmed yet, but
okay,
I'm keeping my fingers crossed, my toes crossed.
Yeah, it's in pencil right now. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But anyway, going back a little bit to Max and them, I haven't seen like Max since Sepultura Ozfest '96, maybe. So it's been a minute.
Really?
So it's been a minute. So when I seen him, I seen that he's on the day that Slayer is on Louder Than Life, and I said, "Oh my god, this is going to be fucking great! I get to see
doing
Max."
Chaos AD, man. That's gonna be sick.
I cannot wait, dude. And that's another thing. When I seen that, I said, "Oh fuck yes!" That and Slayer on the same day, like
that
Christmas came early,
That day is gonna be bonkers.
Well,
and here's the thing.
The whole thing is like just so fucking good. It's like I want to like go all. I just can't do 4-day festivals anymore, man. It's just too rough on me. I can't, like, my back and shit's all fucked up, and I can't I gotta sit and stand. I can't do both long periods of time. I have to stand for a while and then sit for a while. I can't do. This is about as much as I can sit at one time and sitting here talking to a band for 2 or 3 hours, and that's about it. Like I'll have to get up and walk around, but
that's the cool part is you get to pick your day. That you want
exactly,
to
yeah.
It's really
but like
cool
if I had a choice and I could do it, I would go all 4 days just because it's so packed. I mean, it's so you got Kitty on there.
There's great shit every day.
Of course that's on another day, and it's like, but I like how they kind of blocked it off too, because they kind of got Slayer and Max and all those bands kind of on one day. Was it and then the next day it's kind of like Static X and Dope and Non-Point and all those on one day, and then it's kind of like the last day is kind of like Deftones and
Turnstile,
Bad Omens, Turnstile,
exactly,
So it's all like kind of branched out to where the headliners are all like different, but they're all like the same type. Generally,
they kind of have everything.
They kind of coordinated like that this year, which I do like that. So they kind of like you said, it keeps some people to buy in one day instead of having to go 4 days, and they don't really, there's like, I want to see all those bands. Well, yeah, because you want to go 4 days just to see one band each day. That's kind of crazy, but.
You have to have Static X and Dope on the same day anyway. You have to. It's kind of a law, but I mean, you can't have Edsel sing on 2 different days. He'll blow his throat out. So
yeah,
man, I dug Static X live. I got to see that one time with him, and he did a good job, man. I was really impressed by that. We
seen him last year or the year before. I can't remember now. I go to so many shows I can't remember keep up with what I go to, but. It was like my wife was not even a Static X fan. Like she liked some stuff, but she was not like a huge fan until she seen them live. She said, "Oh my god, that's like one of the best live shit I've ever seen." The thing that got her was the smoke-filled bubbles. She's like, "How do they do that?" I was like, "Oh man, but it looked cool as shit because they had like the smoke inside them and they hit the light." Oh, it was so fucking cool. Like, I was just like, man, that's whoever come up with that concept is a fucking genius. Like, it was just
I
wild.
love the stage show vibe that they create too. It's all uniform with the electricity and just everything. It's a cool shtick.
I I haven't had a chance to see it live, but what I really appreciate what they're doing for, to celebrate Wayne's legacy. I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he went down a bad ending, with everything that
Yeah.
was going on in his life, unfortunately. And I think Tony, who I've known personally for a long time from playing bass in Soulfly, and so many of my dad's projects. He's a humble person. He's one of the hard workers in music, and to see him get to rebirth his baby. I mean, I believe him and Wayne started the band, so to have a good ending with his friend and everything, and the way it worked out, I think is just a cool thing to see after all 25 years of that band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I'm trying
Definitely
to.
Cool.
You trying to buy tickets to an? Buy tickets to another
That's
show.
awesome.
No.
That's
When
awesome,
he said Incite and Malevolence was on the same ticket, I said, "Man, they better not be coming over near here." So then I seen that, and I was like, "Oh, they're going to be in Atlanta." And then he just breaks my heart and tells me,
"Oh man, that's
so
I'm not. I think we have an Ohio show, and we have a bunch in Michigan, and it's kind of hit or miss where it is. But I'm hoping the days off get filled in, and maybe we'll get close to you on one of those too.
Oh, see, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. That would be cool.
We can't have no days off. You got to pay them bills. So.
I mean, when you only had one show in 2024, you I'm sure you're trying to, do the best you can to make up for some lost time.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. We can't wait to play.
Yeah.
It's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Now, one thing, now we've brought up Max a couple of times in this show. And one thing that I wanted to make sure that we didn't do is just make it all about, hey, you're Max's stepson. But I did want to ask this one thing, because I mean, obviously, you've carved out this band for yourself, and you made a career for yourself, and like you say, you did it all on your own, and obviously you can tell, because I mean the results speak for themselves. But one thing I did want to ask, as far as it relates to you being a Cavalera, how much, and this probably doesn't pertain anymore now that you're this far along in your career, but was there a point where having that name, did you put a lot of pressure on yourself ever at one point?
Yeah, I think in the early days.
Yeah.
The early days for sure, man. Like, it was such a different landscape in 2004 than it is today. I mean, I was probably the only kid of a metalhead trying to be in a band. I mean, I can't think of one before that was really known, or even the few years after that came along. I mean, it really just started in the last 5 years, where Corey Taylor's son, Robert Trujillo's son, Chet Headfield, all these kids now, they're coming along, and people are accepting them a hell of a lot more than when I came along. I mean, when I was devising how I should start a band, it was the label wanted to not have me use my last name and change my name. There was so much fear around it, and it was so different and crazy. But I think, I added a little bit of pressure to myself for sure, to be I gotta be this heavy, or, that's where that came from. And I think that's why now the band is sinking in so much better, is because we're playing stuff that we want to play, that we don't feel like we have to create this to be a Sepulhead that loves Beneath Her Eyes dig this, or they're just going to talk shit. But then it was it doesn't matter. There's a million more metalheads out there to grab, that I don't need to just grab the Sepultura guy anymore, became a lot more open. And then I think seeing other parts of entertainment, athletes, their kids come all the time for the last 30 years and no one gives a shit. They love that. Acting, they love that. Almost anybody that's an actor came from a family that's a famous actor. I mean, literally every single one.
Yeah.
Politicians, writers, the whole nine. So it was I felt at a time I was the only one that wasn't allowed to be that, So it was I felt like I always had to go even harder, whether I'm live and punching my face until I bleed just to get people to react, or, spitting on people, or spitting on my bass player in those early days, just doing things to try to get attention for something other than being Max's kid,
Sure.
Now I do interviews, I do concerts, all these things, and it's never even mentioned or brought up anymore, you know. And that's cool to see that perspective change as well as my own. You know, I look at it now as carrying on a legacy, not trying. I'm not trying to be better than him or create something better than him. I'm just trying to continue the Cavalera name now that I think Cavalera has become kind of an empire in heavy metal, you know.
Oh, it absolutely has.
It's what Glorious created and Max has created. Now I'm just wanting to build on that and continue that and, you know, do it my own way though at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. As soon as like, I guess like the first time that we found you guys, I think, I want to say it was Chris, but it could have been me. I don't know. It was, you know, the previous album.
I know it was one of us. I can't
but I remember us talking about that, and I said, Cavalera, they have to be kin to Max. I mean, they have to be kin to Max and Igor. You can't. There's no way. There's more than one family of Cavaleras in the music business. That'd be kind of wild.
Yeah, man. You know, to me, it was like Callahan is to break. We are to metal. You know?
Yeah.
That's what I feel of it, man.
Well, the cool thing about it is, it's like I was mentioning before, every project that he's done is different, and of course, Incite's different from all of that. So, I mean, you've got so much music to take in from the family name; it's just unreal. And it's like I said, it's and all of it is so good. Like it's kind of like, you know. We went through this earlier with all the projects and the albums I have in my collection, and of course, you know, Incite's going to be in that collection. You know, with the new album for sure. I know that you know, I haven't got any of the old ones, but you know, it's one of those things. If I seen it in a record store, I wouldn't think twice about picking it up because I've heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still like I still don't like the fact that, you know, it's like a curse and a blessing at the same time with social media and stuff, because you know I don't like that the artist didn't get what I think they deserve out of streams and stuff, and then you know you get to the point where you know, I usually, honestly, I'll try to go to like websites, like the actual website of the band, and say, okay, hopefully I can order something from here. If not, I go to or I try to go to Bandcamp. That's the two places I try to order the stuff from, because I know that they're going to get their fair share from that. You know what I mean? So if I'm ordering it from somewhere else, I don't know who's getting the money. You know what I mean? It's like Amazon. Yeah, somebody could have just bought all of y'all CDs and then, you know, resell them for a higher price.
Exactly.
I don't know. So I mean, it's kind of like, you know, to me, like, you know,
it's important.
To us, it's important, because I mean, for one, we'd be a hypocrite if we're out here doing what we're doing and then not, you know, supporting the bands ourselves. So, you know, it's kind of like anytime we've been able to go to a show from a band that we've interviewed, we go. Like we've seen dozens of bands that's been on the show. So I mean, it's not like we're just doing this to blow smoke up everybody's ass. We're
even buying the ticket, brother. Like, you know, most dudes would just hit up, you know, the PR company and be like, yo, shoot me on the guest list, and that's how a lot of that goes. But you're, you know, in the middle of it shopping for tickets. So that's a big love to you guys.
And so, and I'm not going to lie, we've actually forgotten to ask about how to get in touch with some albums and stuff before. So we'd reach out to the person we contacted and say, hey, you know, forgot to ask, how can I pick this album up? And now sometimes like, yeah, what's your address, man? We'll send it to you. It's like, no, you don't have to. Well, you know, and we've argued with them. Cool. It's like, no, we'll buy it, dude. I don't care about that. I'm not asking for you to give me anything. Yeah. But you're going to tell the contortion story, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay. I was going to. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And the one band that we had on, when we interviewed him, it was the lead singer, and he was like, "This is the first live interview I've done on your guys' podcast." And we were like, "Oh shit, that's awesome." He's like, "Yeah." So he's like, "Let me get your address, and I'm gonna send you something."
Yeah. I mean, he didn't tell us what.
He didn't tell us what. He sent us their entire goddamn physical media catalog.
Yeah.
Damn.
One set each.
Yeah. A whole set to me, a whole set to Chris. I was like,
yes.
Chris said, you ain't going to believe this, but he said, come over to the house. I come over there, and he's like opening up this box. He said, here, this is yours. I said, dude, all of this is mine? He's like, yeah. He gave me a set too. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? It was like, that blew my mind, dude.
Their entire catalog, all of their physical media, and then at the time, their newest LP, or Oh no, it was EP. Their newest EP in vinyl, autographed. One for me, one for him. Didn't ask for it. Nothing. Sent us their entire physical media catalog.
Yeah, he was even like he had never done interviews before, and he's like, "Yeah, I almost didn't do this one, but something told me to do it." And I'm just like, "Dude, let me tell you, this is going to be the most laid back interview you'll ever do because we just shoot the shit and go with the flow, man. We're not, we'll ask questions, but we're not, we're not journalists. You know what I mean? That's the main thing we try to put out here. We're not journalists. We're not here to try to get a scoop or a story. We want to give you." It's just give the band a platform to promote. Just to give a band, give a band a platform to promote what he's doing and what's upcoming and that kind of thing. And
you guys are great, man. Like honestly, like I come back to like it being an entire team. From PR, press, everything. The band, it's all part of the same working system, man. And it's great because you guys go out and you give a lot of love to a lot of bands that need it. You give a lot of, promotion to bands that need it. And, in this day and age, word of mouth, regular vibes, that's what people want to hear it from, not from, the editor Rolling Stone. That shit's irrelevant now.
Right, yeah.
Right, yeah.
This is what matters, and that's what you guys are doing.
And it's like, and I tell bands too a lot of times, I may ask you something that you probably answered 1,000 times, but to me, if I don't hear it from you, I don't believe half the shit I read because
1,000%.
Because it's gotten so bad to where everything a editorial and it's all opinionated that I don't know what's true or not in the story. Even we can go back to what just happened this past week with the Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine. They tried to make it out to be like a quarrel, and it wasn't even like that. You know what I mean? So that kind of pissed me off. I'm just like, dude, y'all got to get your shit straight before y'all just go out here and throwing stories out there.
They did that shit on purpose.
Oh, I know they did.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% did that shit on purpose. Matt Tuck pulled out of the Trivium tour.
No, his management pulled him out of the tour. So they said, "Hey, you got a deadline for this album, and you ain't going to meet it if you go on tour in Europe."
Right. So I mean, you
gotta appease the label, or that's kind of you get cut. So.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, all those media outlets, it was all sensationalism. That's all it was.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna get back to Incite because that's what we're here for. So,
all good. I love this, man. I love
this is one of the things we always like to do here. We like to spotlight the artwork and all that kind of stuff. Let me get the banner out there because it's always. So who is responsible for this great artwork?
Marcelo Vasco, and he's done Slayer and Deicide and Soulfly and the new Kerry King album, and
nice.
He knocked out of the park with this, man. I think us as a band, if you look at our covers, that's something that's extremely important to us. From from Dan Seagrave to Andre Buzikov, we have always sought these guys that create art. We don't want that computer created shit. We don't want something that this guy just scraps together. We want our cover to be like when you're sifting through vinyls at the shop and you just see that, you buy it because of that, like we used to, not because of, the band. And this, to us, just smacked everything that this record was out of the park. I think you have the Hellraiser meets like Prometheus feel to the green color to the new logo, and it just. He nailed it. We honestly, when he sent this, we didn't even have a single change that we wanted to make to it. It was literally just, damn, this is exactly what this music speaks to us, And he's a legend, and he recreated the logo for us, which we've been trying to figure out for 20 years.
It turned out so well.
I love it. Yeah,
amazing.
Thank you, guys.
But
he rules.
Yeah, but you know what else I like is what I like about it is that the Incite name that you guys chose is not, because you could have gone, either way. There's two different spellings of Incite. But what I like are the three eyeballs that go with the other spelling of Incite. I fucking love that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that.
I was just about to ask that.
We were going to start a reggae band actually called Incite spelled the other way and go on tour as both Incites, and we'd play the reggae show as that Incite first.
That would be hilarious.
Because people always ask, they're like, "How does it spell?" And we're like, "Well, we're a metal band, so it's like Incite a Riot."
Exactly. Yeah.
Shit, you know,
exactly.
like,
yes.
That's what we always felt we were doing. So that's funny.
No, I 100% get why you chose that particular spelling, but I like the symbolism of the 3 eyeballs to go with the other spelling of it. I fucking love that. Whether that was the plan or not, but I mean, when I saw it, I was like, I was like, that's fucking clever.
He's a genius, man. Like, really, he is from Brazil, and he just lives art, man. And you can see with all the work that he's done,
That's tremendous.
It's what he was meant to do, man, for sure.
I'll tell you what's amazing to me too is that if you look up the name of the band, like you guys were the only ones with that name. Like nobody's ever. Yeah, it's like crazy because you look up some names and you're like, oh, there's like 20 bands with this name. Of course, half of them were defunct, but
I've been fighting a lot of UK DJs, man. They're for some reason the UK DJs in the last like 5 years, they all want to use the name Incite out of nowhere. So I've had a little bit of fighting with that, but everything else, man. When we started a band, you didn't Google to see if there were other bands of that. You would go to MySpace and see if there was another band called Incite on MySpace, man. And that was like the beginning of all of that for us. And no one had it. And I look back, though, it's funny because, like, all the bands that have been created since then, all of the band names that could have been chosen or what, and this is the one that we came up with because it just decided we were, live and how we played and our attitude. It was just like, we're here to incite some shit, man. Like, and I love the way it would be if, 20,000 people were chanting it at a festival, it just, it's big.
Because I've always been a fan of, like, for that exact reason, what you just talked about, chanting it in a live setting. I've always been a fan of, like, the shorter the better. You have a two syllable Incite, so you have a 2-syllable band name, and I just fucking love how those shorter band names are all the time. But the funny thing is, like what Jason says, I'm surprised like a hardcore punk band wasn't called Incite at some point. So, I mean,
now there's an Ignite who our former guitar player actually sings for now. It's just so crazy.
Oh, wow.
The way things happen, man. But like, I think to us too, at the time when we started the name, the big thing to do was to have like a 4 or 5 word name band. It was like Bleed the Sky or
Between the Buried and Me.
Wednesday is the sorrow of my nightmare. It was like that was every band at that time, dude. So for us to be like the one name band was always fun. We knew, people would just be like, whatever. They didn't think that hard, but it's a powerful meaning, a powerful name, and describes us perfectly.
It's kind of funny how we grew up in an era where Def Leppard had all these songs that were like that. And then now, like, all the band names are like that. It's like we used to be like, listen to Def Leppard going, man, can they like shorten that or something? Like, I can't remember all them words. Like, Jesus Christ. Like,
I think, obviously bands are having trouble to trademark things now that are one word. It's become a little bit difficult.
Yeah. After all these years, that is true. Yeah, that is true.
You don't have, and that's one of the things, like, I've been asked a lot too. So you guys should trademark that. I'm like, I mean, why? I mean, for one, I'm not, I don't have the money. And then when I started looking into trademarking, it's like, oh, well, you can spend this, $800 to get the trademark, but we can't turn it down and keep your money. I'm like, what the fuck? No, dude.
And you have to renew it. Like,
I'm just like, what the fuck?
They were like sending a bill like for $3,000 like every 5 years. And I was like, I'm a poor ass musician. I cannot afford that. So I think what we did was taking the concept of, having it for so long and having it done so many different ways, it just kind of became where, bands didn't want to try to use it. And, we knew we were good to go with this. But yeah, I mean, it's a pain in the ass, man.
That's one of the reasons why
everyone's always looking for.
And that's why people always ask us why our Metalheads is together. And that's one of the reasons why, because there used to be a Metalheads Unite on Facebook that were separated, but they don't hardly do anything. So there's like, I think they have like, I don't even know if they have any posts recently. I think the last time I looked, when I started this one 5 years ago, was they posted like once or twice a week. And I said, "Oh no, we're going to be doing way more than that."
Oh yeah, no,
and we still do, and we still
we're
do.
active every day, every day.
Yeah. So everybody in the group's pretty active too, which is cool. So it's good,
which is nice.
And we, like you said, the cool thing about this is we've created a community of like Brazilian. We got a Brazilian community that's in with us now that we get to hear about a lot of bands that come up from there that we wouldn't normally hear about. So it's kind of like, you're getting a lot of, I guess we get what we asked for. We're like, man, we just don't know enough about bands if we're missing, out on some of these bands that we're missing out on for the past, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, God knows how long. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like you said, the pandemic kind of created a lot of these podcasts. Well, that wasn't even why we did ours. We did ours because we heard the band Onslaught. Everybody knows the story. And like, we was like, okay, well, who's this band? And I was like, what the fuck? They've been out since like 82. Like, how the fuck did we miss these guys? And it's kind of like, both of us being thrash metal guys missed Onslaught. How in the hell did that happen?
Because we can't be everywhere listening to everything all at once. And we still don't have even enough hours in the day to listen to everything.
But it's kind of the point.
We never will. We never will.
And it was kind of the point is like, well, we should do something about that. And then I got, I was already doing a podcast with somebody else, and I said, well, let me see about doing a podcast. We'll see what's out there. So I started researching. Nobody was really doing anything with newer bands. Most everything you've seen was, people doing stuff with the older band, or people coming out with new albums or, anything like that. And I was just like, well, nobody's doing anything like that. Let's do that. And Chris, he has, he started a degree in broadcasting. So he's kind of gotten, some experience with it. And I was like, you want to do it? He's like, well, yeah. So we started out on a little platform where like 20 people or something. And then, so we kind of built up to this thing, and he's, like I said, it's a comfort zone, and we shoot the shit, and it's all like,
That's my favorite part, man. I mean, like, we've been rapping for almost 2 hours, and it doesn't feel like that. I think
it doesn't.
The way the conversation is created and letting it being natural, and not just me sitting here waiting for a question and answer, and then that's it. And next one, it's comforting for us, to be ourselves.
Exactly.
Let people experience more who we are as ourselves. I think people get a better context of who I am. They obviously understand what you guys are about. That brings, again, that sense of the good community together and helping each other, and showing how normal we all are.
Yeah. Well, and that was the idea from the get-go. Because, I mean, we've never met you. You'd never met us. So, we're getting to know each other. But then, like Jason says, they're, trying to introduce, every band that comes on. Yeah. We're trying to cultivate, a friendship and a relationship. And then, we're trying to get to know you. You're trying to get to know us. And then we're like, all right, you're 7 albums into your career. But I mean, we've had an interview with a guy from Finland who had one song. He had one song, and that was it. Awesome. That was the only thing we had to go on. And we talked to him for like an hour and a half off of one song. And so cool. He's actually since been on a second time. So, but at the same time, it's like, hey, all right, here's this guy from Finland was like, here's my single. I was like, all right, we talked to him. We talked about Finland, talked about, his, whole outfit he's got going on. But that's the whole thing is we just, finding out about the music is one thing, but like you say, we also want to know who you are.
Right.
We want to know who, Richie C is outside of, the music, and, everyone who has come on. We want to know who you are in addition to what you are. You're a musician, but we want to know who you are. And really there's no better way to do it than just kind of hang out and just kind of, like you say, just, bullshit for a couple hours. It's really the best, most comfortable way to do it.
I completely agree.
I mean, it works. It's worked for 4.5 years so far.
So far so good, right?
So far so good. So.
Hey, you guys are doing great, man. Again, it's just cool to see more and more people coming back into that. A while there, it was like all I received were typed up interviews, where I had to type. That shit felt so unimpersonal to me. It's like the way I talk, my attitude, everything is so different when I'm talking as a person rather than typing it out, you know. So I love that you guys are doing this and more people are doing it.
Well, I mean, you know, it's we don't want to, and just like being in a band, because you were talking about earlier about the one guy that the rest of you didn't even want to be around. I mean, you know, you don't want to be in a toxic relationship. You don't want to be in a toxic work environment. And I mean, when you're in a band, you're all, you know, you're friends and you become a family, but you're also working together. So, I mean, you don't want any sort of toxicity, no system of a down, pun intended, but you don't want any of that involved. But I mean, you know, so keeping all of that out of it. But I mean, at the same time, if we would have done, we don't want it to be cold or rigid or just just stifling or anything like that. So I mean, we want to enjoy the interview as much as you do. So I mean, if you're not having a great time talking to us, I mean, we wouldn't feel right, you know. So
I love that.
That's the whole thing. It's just trying to make everything enjoyable and relaxed, and you know, I'm gonna shut up before I repeat myself. So, you know, because I think. Because I sometimes I'll fucking catch myself rambling, so I gotta just shut up sometimes.
So
we all do. It's
so we've heard some of the stories growing up. So what as far as like Incite road stories stuck with you over the years, whether good, bad, funny, you know, we just like to hear a road story that kind of stuck with you.
I mean, my favorite one is us. So we were on tour in 2019. We had a drive from Portland, Oregon to, I want to say it was like Oakland, California. So it's a good 600 miles from show to show. And there was a huge blizzard in Oregon that night. So we left, man. And, you know, it's just me and the bass player up in the front. You know, the other dudes are in the back sleeping. And, you know, I'm just kind of rolling a joint as we're, you know, it looks like you're driving through Star Wars, you know, how the snow looks and shit. Crazy, man. And outside you can kind of hear like trees like cracking and shit, you know. I think it was like the drought, so the snow being so heavy, the trees started breaking, man. And I'm like, man, it would be fucked up if one of those fell, dude, and, you know, hit the road or whatever. And literally 30 seconds later, man, all of a sudden it was just like boom, dude, the whole window glass and everything shot in us. A tree was in the fucking window, and, you know, we thought we were dead. You know, there was glass and fucking tree everywhere in the van, man, and the whole window destroyed, sides of the beams of the, you know, the frame destroyed. And, you know, we were still, you know, 400 miles away from this show, and if people know us, they know we don't cancel shows, we don't miss shows, we do not fuck around with that. So, you know, we were determined to not miss this next show, man. And, you know, we're in the middle of the pass, and the window's busted. There's a tree, you know, 10 feet across laying on it. And we just started driving. You know, we stuck our head out the window for about 2.5 hours to see where we were going, and came upon this small town, man, in the middle of nowhere. And we literally just parked the van there, walked in and rented a car. Hopped in that car and fucking drove the next 300 miles and made the concert. We pulled up literally at our stage time and got out of the car and ripped one of probably the coolest shows we've ever played. And
wow.
I flew back at the end of the tour and went and picked up the van and got to like see it finally and just be thankful for being alive, but also like just showing how much this band can overcome. Again, the guys with me didn't fucking whine and bitch. They just did what had to be done to procure this moment, man. And like, I'll never forget that tree hitting us. And, you know, you're calm, rolling the joint. And just next thing, boom, dude, dust. And, you know, and rolling down the window looking like Ace Ventura, you know.
I was just...
it was unreal, man. It was unreal.
That's the first thing I thought of.
And, you know, we're like, you know, so there's more to that. Like you're trying to get up this like hill, man. You see at the top, but there's a whole bunch of like cars and semis stalled out because the ice and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we just back up and just punch it up this hill, man, and we get stuck too. And, these guys are walking by us. They're like, "What the hell are you doing up here?" We're outside in our shorts, like trying to unfree the van, and some guy lays down like rubber mats, and finally it broke free, and we got up that hill, and it proceeded to go where the rest of the story went. But being in a van, man, you face these challenges all the time. Whether it's an alternator breaking down at 2 a.m. in the middle of Oklahoma nowhere, or a starter breaking in Germany, or cops fucking with you. It's always an adventure. But that story I definitely will never forget, and something that just like showed us our determination, our grit, our willpower, and our love for music and touring.
Well, if you see some of the reasons that people cancel nowadays, that would have been probably one of the most other bands would have been like, "Oh, we can't make it, man. We're broke."
Oh yeah, that shit pisses me off, man. Like a lot of people, you're traveling, you're taking time out of your work schedule, you're finding babysitters, you're doing all this shit. So us having a problem, there's always a solution to make that show, man. If you care enough or you want it badly enough.
And I appreciate that, for one, because as much as I'm an Up on a Burning Body fan, I finally got to see them after 3 times. Like, me and my wife both. She's a bigger fan than I am. She loves those guys, but I got her tickets to see them twice. Both times their vehicle broke down. I'm just like, they couldn't make it. I'm just like, man, it's starting to piss me off at this point. I'm just like, I'm about to be like white chicks. I'm about to write a letter. It's not,
oh yeah.
But
the hardest scenario for me is to cancel. Like, I will figure out how to find that tow truck to get the van or whatever.
So the craziest thing is I actually have the poster on the wall somewhere here. They actually they headlined a show a year or 2 ago that we went to, and we were watching. It was the Browning, and I can't remember the other bands, and there was like 3 other bands there, and then Up on a Burning Body headlining. Well, they had said something. The previous band had said something about, well, they had some car trouble and they're on their way. And I'm like, oh God, here we go again. It's like, I'm sorry, but they did. They showed up, and the cool thing about them was they showed up, they made it, and they said, hey, look, whoever had VIP, we're going to give you your money back, and everybody in here is welcome to come do the VIP session with us. So that was cool. That was cool. They gave everybody VIP money back, because the VIP was supposedly to hang out with them before, show, sound check, and all that, which they didn't get to do. So they're like, hey, we'll give you your money back for that. And he said, everybody that's in here is welcome to do VIP with us. We'll sign, whatever. And they did.
I dig that.
I dig that. They did make up for it. But I'm just saying, kind of, it is kind of frustrating to like you said, you found the way to get there in a snowstorm, like,
Oh yeah.
so to me, there's no excuses for any band now. I just forewarning for any band that comes on the show, you have no excuse anymore.
Not anymore.
Oh man, I got so many of those too, man. Like, one time, the bass player, he stuck my laundry key into the ignition of a van because it was like 4 a.m. You're filling up gas in some tiny Oklahoma town, and I love this shit, man. Like, I thrive on getting to like solve the problem. So it was like, I'm like blowing up this lady who's the town locksmith, and it's like 4 a.m. She comes around finally at like 6 a.m. and she's like, sorry, I was out partying all night. Like, she comes in and drills this fucking drill into the ignition, changes it out, and, gets us on our way. And, there's just always an answer, man. And, going back to what you said about VIPs too, one thing with us is there's always free meet and greets with us at the merch booth. That again, I know every artist does it, and I think, some whatever, it's cool, but I hate that shit. So we do them free every night. We're hanging there, we're talking, we're signing, we're doing photos, and we just love being a part of the community. And to see a band do it for free after a couple of times, that I appreciate the shit out of hearing stories like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just like me and Chris got to meet Pete and Dave from Havoc. They came out and like.
I love that, man. Like everybody should take an example from Kurt. From
Chris
Crowbar,
caught that.
Man. That guy.
That's an inside joke. Sorry, it's an inside joke between me and Chris. Yeah, So I was playing some music one night, and he said, "Oh, that sounds like Havoc." I said, "Well, it's not." He's like, "Yeah, it's got to be Havoc." I said, "No, it's not. It's Hatchet." He's like, God damn it. So then like a few nights later we was playing, he's like, oh, that's that new Hatchet. And I said, no, that's Havoc. He's like, God damn it.
It took me forever to finally develop the ear to tell the two bands apart. And which I love Havoc so much. You Richie, you mentioned them earlier in the show briefly, but man, they are such an underrated band. But yeah, it took me
down to earth guys too. Man.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
It took me a minute to develop the ear to tell the two singers. I can now, but it's been a running joke, and he just kind of snuck it in there. So it's just like, God damn it. But yeah, so no, he snuck it in there, but yeah, no.
I love to hear that because those guys are great, man. A great band, always grinding and driving and going forward.
Yeah,
and he's had member difficulties also, and I think that to keep going, man, that's a cool testament to who he is and what that band's about.
It was so funny because their album 5 that came out was before the pandemic, but if you listen to it now, you're like, dude, he had to write this during the pandemic. Like, no, he didn't. It was before.
Mm-hmm.
And like and that was funny because when we met him, I asked him, I said, I just got one question. Are you psychic? And David just looked at me. He was like, what? I said, dude, you do realize that whole record kind of like told the story of what actually went on like a year later. He's like, yeah. Crazy. He said, I realized that, but it was. I promise you, it was not. That was not how it was supposed to happen. But
he could have been pissed about his girl cooking the cookies wrong. So that's what's funny about music and writing it. The inspiration comes from anywhere, and you don't know why. But then it's like 100% it makes so much sense. It's a great concept of what they do, man.
Richie, man, we appreciate it. I know we don't want to keep you too long there, but I know Chris is probably ready to crash out too on us. So, but man, this has been awesome, dude. When he hit me up and like I said, he put out the thing and everything. He said, dude, I can't wait for the whole album to come out and people get to hear this. And he said, oh, I agree. He said, hey, you want to do an interview? Richie's pretty flexible. I'm like, well, how do I say no to Cavalera? So
never.
I love this, man. This is truly one of my favorite parts of being in music. Is talking about it, meeting new people, spreading the word on things, telling cool stories. To me, this is funner than posting it or writing a book or whatever bullshit. I love this, man. This is one of the best parts about music.
Well, I mean, after the show is over and everything, we'll make sure that we get it over to Curtis, and he'll send you the link. You can share it and cut it up however you want, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, appreciate that so much, you guys.
Just want to tell everybody, Incite, Savage New Times coming out August 15th. Mark your calendars.
Yes.
So
3 months,
and luckily we've heard it. So you're going to be
many times.
Yeah, you're going to be you're going to fall in love with it. I promise. If you're
we got 3 killer singles out right now.
That's right.
Check them out. There's videos from all, and we still have 2 more singles to go before the album comes out, man. So,
okay.
We're gonna give everybody half the album, man, to feel it out and really, really go with it. So it's exciting, trying something new, and hopefully it'll excite more bands to give away more of their music, before the real thing drops.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also, you can catch the Incite on tour with Hatebreed during the Summer of Slaughter tour. So, and then of course he said they'd be, like I said, he said something in the show about doing some fall stuff, and once we get that confirmed, we'll be glad to share that with you guys.
Yes, we will.
All of our socials as well.
That's right. It'll be in the Hitting the Road segment, all that good stuff. It'll be on the social media.
Yeah, let's try and knock another one out sometime this year, man. Maybe on one of those tours. That'd be fun. Little update on post record release and stuff.
Hell yeah!
That would be awesome, man. Yeah, we're totally down.
Yeah,
awesome, man.
So just great. Before you take off, you want to tell everybody where they can find you guys?
Yeah, please go check us out. You can pre-order the record now through RPM Music. You can get it on Bandcamp. You can do all those things. Please go check it out on Spotify, Apple Music, just everywhere, man. We really need that to come out. We need people to support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, just get out and support the bands. Absolutely.
Get out and support spread the word.
Yes,
spread the word.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
thanks again, Richie, man. It's been an honor.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's been cool, and yeah, we will definitely do this again, man. Definitely.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Y'all have a kick-ass weekend and everything beyond that, man. Enjoy. Appreciate
yes,
it.
sir. You too. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, man.
Take care, Richie.
Later, y'all. Fuck yeah, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Richie.
Awesome.
Richie C.
Caballero.
Founder and lead singer.
There you go. Founder and lead singer
of Incite. Founder and lead singer of Incite.
Man, cool, man. Man,
that
was such a, like I said, man, these guys are so like down to earth, and I do love that, man, that they're just, just telling stories and not even asking. It's kind of like the Aussie cooking fries for him will always be in my. I don't think I'll ever forget that.
That's man, you know what?
That's crazy.
Like you said, that's gonna be a difficult story to top.
It's gonna be hard to forget too. That's for sure. So
that's true. That's gonna be a tough one to top. Well, that and the tree coming through the windshield of the van.
Well, that's pretty pretty wild too. So.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, he's been, and that's the thing is, I don't know how old Richie is, but I mean, he's been. Let's just say, for sake of argument, I mean, the amount of stuff he's seen, and let's just call it 40 years. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but 30, 40 years or whatever, the amount of stuff he's seen, and just the amount of people he's met, and the amount of people he knows. I mean,
I said, he's rubbing elbows with some of the biggest bands in the world in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he has slept over at Ozzy Osbourne's house.
Yeah, how many people can say that? That's crazy.
Not many. So yeah, I mean, just like tell us stories. Go.
Yeah, right. Stories with Richie C. That's gonna be our next interview. Would be stories with Richie C. Man, that was so cool, man. And again, thank you, Curtis. I know he stopped in the chat for a minute.
Yeah.
Thanks, Curtis, for setting that up for us. We really do appreciate that, man.
I still think your idea of inviting him on is a good one. So.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. So, like I said, it's going to be soon too. I'm going to try to get it done within the next couple months. So,
yeah, that'd be cool.
With all the irons on the fire right now, and then I'm taking a vacation soon. So, trying to get through that, and then we'll resume and start hitting people up again. But it's totally fine. Of course, the summer concert season is about to ramp up too, with all the festivals and everything. So it's busy. So, and we haven't nailed it down yet, because we actually do have two other lines in the water right now. We do, yeah.
We have a couple more bands who have said that they're willing to come on the show. So we don't know if we've got the next 2 weeks booked or whatever. So, we're trying to keep up with all the concert tours and everything the best we can, like we normally do, of course. I don't know if I'm going to keep up with 3 or 4 weeks in a row, because I mean, that'll just be too long of a hit in the road segment by the time we get back to the original show. But so we'll see how that goes, because we may or may not have guests the next 2 weeks. Now, before we go, I just want to talk about this real quick. I know I asked you earlier, Jason, if you had listened to the new Sleep Token yet, and you said you hadn't.
No.
I listened to it the other night at work. And before I go any further, let me preface what I'm about to say with this right here. Just like with Ghost, I'm not a fan, but anything that helps move heavy music forward, I'm okay with. Now, I had only listened to maybe 1 or 2 Sleep Token songs previous to this. I don't know how much experience you have with Sleep Token, Jason.
I've listened to a couple. I like I said, the stuff that I listened to, I just couldn't get into. That's just me though.
Okay.
It was like, for me, for people to call it metal sometimes, kind of like, I don't get, but
okay,
whatever. But it's a little, to me, it's a little slow. I mean, that's just me, but.
Okay, cool. Because I listened to that entire album the other night, and I'm still like I say, I got nothing. I've got no way to write anything down. I really don't have a way to listen to my phone once I start the cue that I had put together. I'm sitting here listening to this album, and it's mostly hip hop beats and piano with a few heavy choruses here and there, and I'm like, this is fucking metal. I'm like, what the? I'm like, this is the hot thing in heavy metal right now is this band. I don't get it.
Well,
So I don't understand it.
well, to me, it's like anything else with media. Media is going to push whatever they want in front of you, and then people are just going to bite on it. Because I think Sleep Token is probably one of those things where, the media jumped on board, or maybe the record label pushed a lot of money into the media to have them push it. Or we don't know. We don't know the whole story, but like I said, most of the time it's some stories like that where we can go back to like what we said before. We're back in the 80s where, and 90s where where the labels pushed Guns N' Roses and Metallica and didn't push, the 20 other bands on the label.
Right.
So, that's kind of where you're at with that. And then it kind of goes fast forward where social media is kind of like I guess, evil part of music that's pushing stuff in front of you and only pushing certain things in front of you.
Right.
So yes, they may be, a hot commodity, but to me, like I could take Bleed From Within, the shirt I'm wearing, and put it in front of 10 million people, and then everybody would like Bleed From Within. This is how it works.
You could potentially,
because that's what I'm saying. Like if you've got the backing and the money to do those certain things, then that's kind of where you'll fall in place. But like I said, it's not my cup of tea. Anybody that likes them is fine. I'm not going to shit on you because you like them. It's
right. Everybody
has different taste. That's kind of like what he was saying before. You ain't got to like it, just respect it.
Yeah. And that's kind of where that's where I was going with it. If that's the way that this band sound, because I don't even know this new album. I don't know if it's their second, third, fourth. I don't know how long this band's been around.
It's their second one, I think.
I think it might be. I don't know. So I don't know.
So I know like them and Spirit Box were kind of the two big things that everybody was pushing at the same time.
I never really saw the fascination with Spirit Box either. That's just me. Yeah. But
I do like Spirit Box stuff, but
yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just I don't know. But if that is like if that's Sleep Token's thing, like what I've heard, if that's the thing, I don't see myself being a fan. It didn't really. I paid attention to it because I made a conscious decision to listen to it, and while I was listening to it, I was like, there was one song where there were no instruments at all. There was not one musical instrument, not one. It was nothing but a. It was just basically like a really, really slow rap song. That's really all it was. It's like, this is supposed to be the hottest thing in metal right now. You don't even have real drums or a guitar or anything. I'm like, what the fuck am I listening to right now? So like I say, to each, like Kayla listens to it. That's fine. I don't care who does. I'm not trying to discourage anybody from listening to it. I don't care if you listen to Ghost. I don't care if you listen to Tool. I've gone on record on this show many times saying I don't like Led Zeppelin. If you listen to Led Zeppelin, that's fine. Whatever.
Well, so here's the thing. Like you listen to some of the bands with the symphonic and the power metal that I don't like. It's just, and I listen to metalcore bands you don't like. So that's kind of like
exactly. So it's not.
I'm just showing everybody a sample here. It's like we're not shitting on anything because we don't like the same stuff either. So it's kind of, that's why we do this, is because we're more well rounded in the whole process. So it's I just don't. There are some power metal bands I like. There's some symphonic metal bands I like, but some of them I do, some of them I don't. And then it's the same with Chris with metalcore. He's I talk about some metalcore bands. He's like, I don't care for them. Okay, cool. That's
it's whatever. It's fine. So it's actually kind of what makes this show great, really. To be honest with you. But the reason why I brought up the Sleep Token wasn't to, get on a soapbox and be like, you shouldn't listen to this. It's not metal.
Right. Yeah.
Based on what I heard, do I consider it metal? Absolutely not. But that's just my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. From a Metalheads perspective, I don't get it. I don't get how that's considered metal. I don't. Mm-hmm. So I was just curious as to whether you'd listen to it or not, because I listened to it the other night.
I actually listened to an album already. I think you probably already know which one since I kind of reached out to the band. But then
I did see that.
Then I started the Bury Tomorrow album. I started that one this morning. So
yeah,
actually yesterday was all Incite, so I was just listening to Incite yesterday. So
yeah, I actually have not picked an album for my review for this week because I was doing the same thing. I was doing nothing but listening to Incite.
It's all good.
But we'll talk about that here in just a minute once we sign off here. So.
All right, guys. So, like I said, thanks again to Richie Cavalera, Richie C, however you want
Richie
to
C.
So from lead singer and founder of Incite. Of course,
check out
setting that up, and then
check out all of Incite's previous 6 albums on Spotify now.
Leading up to the new one. Yeah.
Check out the 3 singles off the new album, Savage New Times, which comes out mid-August. Keep your eye out for the 2 other singles that Richie was talking about. Follow us on all of our social media, our Facebook group, our Facebook page, X, Instagram, Twitch, our YouTube channel, TikTok, Rumble, and Spotify. And you can email us at metalheadsuniteusa@gmail.com. Listen to our 24/7 live radio station at trulyradio247.com/8008/stream. It is streaming right now, hence the 24/7.
That's right. And then, of course, there's stuff uploaded there every week, so it's forever changing. So the catalog there is probably pretty immense at this point. So there was some there was 3,000 and something on there before it went down, and then we've added all that back and then some. So,
and then some, yeah. So we're basically
pushing 4 or 5K by now. So
yeah, we're past the point of our previous server.
Sure.
So we've recouped the damage and then some at this point. So.
All right, guys, we'll wrap this one up. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview. And if you didn't catch it, you can always go back and listen to it later on YouTube and Facebook. And then, of course, in the future, Spotify and Rumble.
That's right.
We'll get to that one. I got to first cut up the Kissing Lilith one before I get to this one. So, I got it all downloaded. I just hadn't got around to cut it up yet. It's been crazy at work this week, so I hadn't had a chance to do much. But usually get that off day during the week. I didn't get this week, so it's kind of
all right.
Kind of threw me off all week from doing anything, which was one of the reasons I jumped on the interview. And I was just like, man, I don't really have time to prepare for a show anyway.
Well, that's the thing is because we can always kind of drop.
Oh yeah,
we can always drop the preparation for the regular content. In lieu of an interview. Absolutely. That's the easier thing to do. Be like, all right, exactly. We can put all this on hold and just have someone come on. It's easier to kind of, especially in like a 3 or 4 day span to kind of catch up on a band's catalog. Most times, unless you're like, Brainstorm or, something like that has got 14 albums.
Yeah.
I
still through all their stuff. So.
So some bands have been easier to catch up with than others, but
cool deal. So, like Chris said, follow us on our socials because there is a potential interview again next week. So fortunately, whether it's an interview or not, it's probably going to be Saturday at 10 a.m. now. So, which is a good thing. So we don't have to change our time for the interview. So
that's right. This is barring something crazy happening with my new job, or like I say, we did have to change when Hidden Intent came on. We did have to kind of move some chess pieces around because they're so far ahead of us that we had to do
15 hours.
15 hours because we had to do a Friday night for them because they were so far ahead. So I mean, but this is the new time for right now. So hopefully we didn't upset too many people's plans, for watching the show. But like I say, thankfully it's on the internet. The internet's forever, so you guys can check it out if you weren't able to catch us live. So
whether you're winding down on a Friday night or getting started on a Saturday morning, Metalheads Unite gets you through both. So
that's right.
There you go.
That's right.
So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the interview. Check back next week for our regular scheduled program, or maybe another interview. Which, like I said, if you follow our socials, there'll be promotions, videos, and stuff setting up that if we do get an interview pinpointed down.
That's right.
So until next week, Saturday at 10 a.m. Don't forget.
Right.
Till then, keep those horns held high. Spin that pit anytime you can.
Have a great week.